Perfection. Perfection in Stardew Valley essentially means completing 100% of the game's content. That includes shipping one of each crop, cook every recipe, catch all fish, max out every skill, completing all the Monster Slayer goals, and so much more. I have over 600 hours in Stardew, multiple save files on different farms, but I never actually achieved perfection myself. I came pretty close though on my forest farm playthrough. I mean, not really, but I tried. And I think it's about time to change that. Can someone like me, who didn't even come remotely close to that goal before, reach perfection? Let's find out. I will be editing these as 100 days type of videos because, well, I don't know how else I would do it. So if that sounds like something that you would enjoy, then stick around. I didn't really have any major goals for the first year of playing, but I did wanted to try to finish the community center and have at least one fish pond on my farm. Before we begin though, I'd like to point out that this is by far the most time-consuming project that I have on my channel. You know when 100 days YouTubers say that these videos take a lot of effort to make? Well, they're not lying. So I am asking you to leave a like, right now. I'll even wait a second.
One eternity later.
Thank you. Now, please enjoy the video. I decided to play on the Riverlands farm this time, which I know, controversial, but hear me out. I played on the standard, beach, meadowlands, and multiple times on the forest farm, so I wanted to try out something new. I created my character and ended up with the name Riverside Farm, because that was literally the first thing that came up when I googled for farm names. And my favorite thing, of course, is Kiwi, one of my two birds, which you can hear in every single video. Because these little guys are loud, and they have opinions. Anyways, here we are, on the Riverlands farm. I cleaned up a bit, planted my parsnips that I got from Louis, crafted my first chest, and then headed out to meet some of the townies. I also stopped by Pierre's to buy 10 potato seeds. Did some foraging in the Cinnasap forest, got a look for those spring onions, and then wanted to head home from the southern entrance, but my way was blocked off by some debris, so I had to walk all the way around it. Cleaned up the farm a bit more, and yeah, not much else to do on day one. Next morning, I went straight to the beach where Willie gave me his old fishing rod. Thanks, buddy. After a bit of fishing by the ocean and the mountain lake, I dumped all my fish in the chest and checked for more spring onions. While I was doing that, I found my first ever carrot seeds. Hey, I take all the free loot that I can get. Did some late night fishing at my farm as well, and was surprised to see that I can also catch a bream on here. After going to bed, I reached level 2 in fishing. I'm trying to get to level 5 as quickly as I can, so that I can sell my fish for more money. Day number 3, the rain poured down on my farm, and I was super happy that I didn't have to water my crops. I spent most of my day fishing. I initially just wanted to chill by the mountain lake, but then decided I should probably check again for forageables, since every bit of money counts early on. And holy moly, I am so glad I did. Look at all those spring onions! Inventory space was once again a problem, so I made another chest and then went to bed. After watering my crops on day 4, I picked up the 2 artifacts that I have gathered so far and visited Gunther at the museum for the first time. While I was in town, I met a few more villagers, did more fishing down at the beach, dropped off everything that I had at home, and yeah, guess what? More fishing. My hard work paid off that day because I managed to get to level 3 in fishing. Marnie paid me a visit the next morning, and she had the most adorable dog with her. She asked if I'd like to adopt him, and I mean, obviously. I ended up naming him Rusty. Such a good boy. I collected my first harvest of parsnips, and with that, reached my first level up in farming. Don't worry, I won't be mentioning the level ups anymore, unless it's either level 5 or 10. I waited very patiently in front of the carpenter, since I wanted to hand Robin a Joja Cola for a quest she posted yesterday. I remember it was actually a Friday, so I visited the traveling merchant, but she didn't have anything of interest to me. As I was heading into town, I got the cutscene with Mia Lewis at the community center. I'm sure we've all seen this one multiple times, so I don't think I need to show this. I inspected the weird tablet inside, then visited Pierre's, where I sold the forageables that I found earlier, and my parsnips. Thankfully, it was enough for me to buy the backpack upgrade. The boulder got removed that was near the mountain lake, so I went into the mines, where I stumbled upon Marlon, who gave me a rusty sword to defend myself. I made some progress down in the mineshaft, and even found a random green jacket. I forgot that you can now also find clothing and hats from random tasks, so I was a bit confused at first. Didn't match my style whatsoever, but hey, I got a free jacket. I wanted to progress a bit further, but I was out of stamina, so I left and headed home. Since I was in the mines yesterday and found some ores, I had Clint at my front door the next morning, who handed me a blueprint for a furnace. I received a letter from the local wizard, who asked me to pay him a visit so we can discuss, and I quote, the rat problem. Have these people ever seen an actual rat? I picked up my 2 parsnips and carrots and then headed into the cindersap forest. At the wizard's tower, Osmodius introduced himself. We spoke about the rat problem, drank a weird potion, and now I can understand the little creatures. After this delightful experience, I bought 2 bean starters, 2 cauliflowers, and more parsnips. Donated all of the spring forageables to the community center, and with that, finished my first bundle. I had a bit of coal saved up by now, so I moved my fish smoker outside and tested it out for the first time. Nice and cozy. Day number 7, I picked up my potatoes, replanted some of the spring seeds that I've got yesterday, then headed straight into the mines. After a bit of exploring, I made it to floor 20. Back in town, I accepted another help wanted quest from Robin, who asked for a cave carrot this time. I'll be doing these as often as I can, since I really want to get the goodies from the prize machine in Louis' house. After dropping off the carrot for Robin, I visited the Adventure Guild, where I sold some of the weapons and equipment that I found in the mines. I spent the rest of my evening by the mountain lake to do some more fishing. The next morning, I saw that I had a crow plundering my crop field, and that reminded me that I should probably craft a scarecrow, which I did. It was a good luck day, so I spent a good amount of my time down in the mines, where I made it to floor 30. Later in the evening, I made my way into town to check some of the trash cans, and I found 2 cooked dishes in a row while searching, cookies and a maki roll, which I need for the community center. The maki roll, not the cookies. Before heading to bed, I did a bit of fishing at my farm, and after a few minutes of struggling, I actually managed to pull in a catfish. Very excited about this one since, again, something that I'll need for the bundles. On day number 9, I picked up all of the gems, artifacts and geodes that I've collected so far and donated everything to the museum. Opened the geodes at the blacksmith and then donated some more. I did a foraging run in the Cindersap forest where I finally met the last villager, which was Jazz. I gave her a dandelion to get some free money from the quest, but unfortunately she didn't really appreciate my gift. While I was here, I also came across Leah, who I gave an anchovy for a quest that she posted yesterday. And with that finished, I got my first ever prize ticket. So I rushed over to the mayor's house, where Louis explained the use of the prize ticket machine to me. I traded in my ticket for 12 carrot seeds. After that, I went to Pierre's store, where I sold all of the forageables that I found earlier, then headed down to the beach, where I wanted to buy the fiberglass rod from Willy, but he just wasn't there? Where is he exactly? No idea. Anyways, back at my farm, I planted the carrot seeds that I got, and then cleaned up the area a bit more. The next morning, I harvested my rice and some parsnips, planted the rest of the carrot seeds, and then went straight to the beach, where I finally bought the fiberglass rod, and some bait with the rest of my money. I spent the first half of my day fishing by the ocean, then dropped off some of the fish at the community center to free up some chest space. I obviously couldn't finish any bundles from the fish tank right now, but it's still good progress. After a whole day of fishing, I finally made it to level 5, where I chose the fisher profession. Day 11, I sold almost all of the fish that I had in my chest, but kept a few since there's gonna be some cooking recipes later that need fish. Despite it being a bad luck day, I still wanted to try and make some progress down in the mines. I only made it to floor 35, but at least I got a few ores from my trip. After going to bed, I was pleased to see that my hard work from fishing paid off. The next day, I went straight to the blacksmith to commission a copper pickaxe upgrade. Opened a few geodes while I was there, and then donated more items to the museum. I spent a good chunk of my day cleaning up the farm, and while I was chopping some trees, I obtained Woody's Secret, my first book. This is actually a really good find. Now every tree has a 5% chance of dropping double wood, which is amazing. Day number 13 was everyone's favorite festival, the Egg Festival. I picked up my harvest and then finally realized that I can make fertilizer now. Replanted some wild seeds and spring seeds, and then went into town. I bought 10 strawberry seeds, and after chatting with everyone, it was time for the egg hunt. I absolutely destroyed Abigail and won by finding exactly 10 eggs. My reward was a classic straw hat, and now my head doesn't look that empty anymore. On day 14, I forgot to record almost the entire day. Yeah, I know, I'm sorry. Luckily, not that much happened. I planted my strawberry seeds in the morning, then got a hat while I was chopping down some trees, but I didn't like it since it covered up my hair. I visited the carpenter because I wanted to commission a coop, but I had too little money, so that was a waste of my time. Instead, I went to Clint, where I got my copper pickaxe and upgraded my axe. I gave Haley a daffodil because it was her birthday, went into the mines, and then finally realized that I wasn't recording. Actually, now that I think about it, that is quite a busy day. Look, I already said I'm sorry, okay? What else do you want? Day 15 to 18 were mostly spent foraging for salmon berries and also mining. On day 16, I obtained my second prize ticket, so I went once again to the mayor's house and traded it in for an orange tree. I don't think I've ever had a fruit tree this early on, so this is exciting. After going to bed that day, I got a cutscene with Mr. Chief flying around the valley and bombing the place with blue boxes, which means that from now on I can find mystery boxes. While collecting berries in the Cindersap forest on day 17, I came across a pot of gold, which I definitely remembered and didn't stumble upon on pure accident. Nevertheless, I got another hat and also a bit of money, which is always nice. The next morning, my first cauliflowers were ready, so I visited the community center where I finished the spring crops bundle. After that, I spent most of my day down in the mines where I had a near-death experience. One bat dropped a dwarvish scroll, but unfortunately I misclicked and went down the ladder instead. At least I made it to floor 60. Day 19 was mostly spent fishing on the farm, beach, and mountain lake. If you're wondering why I'm fishing at the beach, it's because I'm trying to stock up on seaweed for future ponds. Later that day, I got blessed with a truly amazing treasure chest. I got my first dinosaur egg, and that, ladies and gentlemen, is exactly why I love fishing. The next morning, I finally had enough money to commission a coop, so I gathered all the necessary materials and visited the carpenter. I'm not entirely sure how I want to lay out things on the farm, but I thought here in the middle would be a cute spot for the animal buildings. Most of my day was spent cleaning up the farm a bit more, and later in the evening I wanted to buy Shane a beer for his birthday, but unfortunately I was missing a bit under 100 gold to be able to afford it. Sorry buddy, maybe next time. On day 21, I remembered that I can place a hat on Rusty. Look at this handsome little man. I made my way into the Cindersap forest, where I picked up a buttload of spring onions. Since it was a Sunday, I made sure to stop by the traveling cart and saw that she had a lobster for sale, which reminded me that I actually have everything that I need to finish the crabpot bundle. So I went back home, picked up a cockle and a mussel, rushed over to the community center and donated 2 pieces. As I made my way down to the beach, Louis caught me sniffing around in his trash can. Dude, I'm looking for free stuff, alright? I actually found a bean hot pot in one of the trash cans earlier, so I spent the rest of my day down in the mines, where I found my first of many diamonds. I got a decent amount of coal and ore from my trip, and called it a day when I reached floor 70. Day 22, I woke up to my first strawberry harvest. I kept the gold quality ones for gifting and sold the rest of them. I wanted to go straight to the mines once again, but decided to stop by this bubble spot at the mountain lake, and thank God I did, because I managed to fish up Jewels of the Sea, my second book. Now treasure chests have a chance to yield roe. It's nothing crazy, but still a nice bonus. And yeah, besides a bit more ore collecting and fishing, not much more happened that day. The next morning, I saw that my coop had been finished. Unfortunately, I have to wait with buying some chickens since it was a Tuesday and apparently Marnie doesn't like to work. After collecting some spring onions and other forageables, I went yet again into the mines, where I found my first mystery box. I decided it was about time to upgrade my weapons, so I visited the Adventure Guild, where I bought myself a pirate sword. I don't think I ever bought a weapon from here, but I've been getting pretty unlucky with the monster drops, and it takes about a minute to slay a monster at the current level where I'm at, so I really needed an upgrade. I made it down to floor 80 and reached level 5 in mining, where I chose the miner profession. Day 24 was the flower dance. Yay. I had nowhere near enough friendship points with anyone, so I just stood there very awkwardly and watched, as you do in the first year. One good thing though, I did end up buying one seasonal plant from Pierce, which I placed on my porch, and now it looks about 0.1% nicer on my farm. Day number 25, it was time to buy myself some chickens. Everyone please welcome lettuce, pepper, zucchini, and celery. I opened the hatch of my coop so that they could enjoy the fresh air and hay. You can't really see them, but they're there, I promise. You'll see them once they've grown up. I gave Evelyn an aquamarine for a quest she'd posted earlier, and then wanted to crack open some geodes, but it was closed unfortunately. The next morning I had Demetrius on my front door. He asked if he can set up the cave nearby to attract some local species. I really wanted to have the mushroom cave this time, but for the sake of the community center, I thought it was best to go with the fruit bats. Speaking about the community center, I stopped by the traveling cart, and to my surprise, she actually sold one red apple, which I bought of course. After that, I went to Pierce to sell some crops so that I could commission a barn from Robin. It was a good luck day, so I spent a good amount of my time down in the mines, where I made it to floor 85. Small steps everyone, small steps. As I was returning to my farm, I chopped down some trees and found another woody secret. Not really sure what to do with the duplicate, so I just put it in one of my chests for now. By the end of the day, I reached level 5 in foraging and took the gatherer profession. Day 27, I said good morning to my invisible chickens, then opened a few geodes and my 2 mystery boxes, which contained some coffee, always happy to get some free coffee, and then donated more artifacts and minerals to the museum. Since I dumped almost all of my wood supplies on the barn, I decided to do some slight deforestation in the Cinnasap forest. Then dropped off a bunch of materials by the community center to free up some inventory and chest space, but also to finish some bundles. I completed the blacksmith, adventurer, and construction bundle. After that, I witnessed my first ever fish frenzy at the mountain lake. It was the last day of spring on day 28. I went into town, where I saw that Clint wanted me to gather some coal in return for a prize ticket. I quickly went down into the mines to murder some dust sprites, returned with the 5 pieces of coal, and with that acquired my 3rd prize ticket. While I was there, I also turned in my pickaxe for an upgrade. Since the steel upgrade was pretty expensive, I spent the rest of my day fishing at the mountain lake. I reached level 5 in farming and went with the tiller profession. And that's it for spring. First day of summer, I removed any dead crops from my farm and prepared the field for the new ones. I unfortunately only had regular sprinklers for now, but hey, it's better than nothing. In town, I bought at least one of each of the new summer crops and then planted them at my field. It's a bit messy, but I'll promise I'll make it better once I have quality sprinklers. I did a good amount of fishing by the ocean, where I caught some of the new fish, and later I made 2 mayo machines, since my chickens are all grown up by now. I was sick and tired of the insane amount of hay that was everywhere on my farm, so on day 30 I went to Robin's, where I commissioned my first silo. I picked up my silver pickaxe from Clint, expanded my crop field, finished a summer foraging bundle, and did some more fishing. While I was doing that, I got another fish frenzy notification, a pufferfish one this time. I was nowhere near prepared to catch a pufferfish, but I had to give it a try. So I rushed down to the ocean, and after many failed attempts, I actually managed to pull one in. Another fish down for the community center. The next morning, I went straight to Marnie's, where I bought myself 2 cows. Say hello to Jerry and Melon. I spent pretty much the entire day on my farm, chopping trees, breaking rocks, and just cleaning up a bit more. I also fished up my first rainbow trout and pike. Since it was raining on day 32, I went down to the beach, where I caught myself a tilapia, and got another dinosaur egg in a treasure chest. Are you convinced yet that fishing is the best activity in this game? I also fished up a red snapper, and by the mountain lake I got my first sturgeon. A few fish later, and I had another great treasure chest with the Neptune's glaive inside. Finally, a proper weapon upgrade. With all the fish that I've caught, I was able to complete the ocean and lake fish bundle. On day 33, I wanted to commission my first pond on the farm, but decided it was probably better to upgrade my axe instead. While I was at the blacksmith, I opened a few geodes and mystery boxes, donated more artifacts to the museum, and got my first rare crow as a reward. With the newly obtained fire quartz, I headed over to the community center and finished the geologist bundle, and with that, my first room was completed. I chucked down a coffee and sprinted over to the Cinesep forest to visit the traveling merchant. I won't be mentioning this anymore unless I actually buy something from her. After that, I went to the mines, and on my way there, I dug up Jack Be Nimble, Jack Be Thick, my third book. +1 defense is nothing insane, but I take all the defense that I can get. By the end of the day, I saw the little rats dance around the minecarts. Thanks guys, appreciate the hard work. Day 34. Not much to say about it. I spent the entire day in the mines, where I finally made it to floor 100, which means I got my first star drop. Was about time really. The next morning I harvested some summer squash and radishes, bought a milk pail from Marnie's, picked up my steel axe from Clint, and then wanted to commission a pond, but had too little money for that. So I spent the rest of my day fishing by the mountain lake and farm. On day 36 I went once again to the carpenter to commission that pond. I was very unsure on where to place it, so I just put it on this little island right here. After that, I repaired the broken bridge down at the beach, picked up the forageables there, chopped some trees in the Cinesep forest, and visited the secret woods to collect some fern, hardwood, and while I was there, also fished up the wood skip. The next day, I picked up my first large eggs, and my cows were all grown up now, which means I can get milk every day now. I opened more geodes and mystery boxes at Clint's, and then decided to head into the mines since it was a good luck day. While I was minding my own business, I noticed that I had a holy blade in my inventory. It has plus 25 crit and crusader on it, so that was a nice find. I made it to floor 115, but had to call it a day there since I didn't have any energy left. The pond was ready on day 38, so I plopped in a sturgeon since his roe is the highest selling one out of all of the fish that I currently have. I feel like I should probably cut some grass down here at the animal area, but I just cannot be asked. I gave Maru a strawberry for her birthday, did a foraging run around town and at the beach where I found a rainbow shell, and then started to hand out some gifts and also bought Shane a very delayed birthday present at the bar. The next morning I took care of my crop field, petted my animals, and then headed into town, because today was the Luau festival. After talking with everyone, I placed a gold quality cauliflower into the potluck soup, and then waited for the governor to try it. And he seemed to really enjoy it. Gold star cauliflower, you never disappoint me. That gave me free friendship points with everyone around town. Sweet! On day 40, I took all the wood and stone that I've gathered so far and visited the carpenter, where I commissioned a coop upgrade. After that, I went down into the mines, where I reached the bottom and obtained the skull key. Unfortunately, I cannot really use it right now, but I promise I'll work on the bus repair soonish. In the near future, I guess. Once again, I had no wood left, so I did some more deforestation in the Cinesep forest, and by the end of the day I finally reached level 6 in farming, which means hardwood fences, cheese press, but more importantly, quality sprinklers. The next morning I right away crafted my first batch of quality sprinklers, started to lay out another field, went into town to buy some more melon seeds, and made more sprinklers. I relocated some machines, crafted 2 cheese press, and then cleaned up the farm a bit more, until I ran out of energy. Day 42, I harvested my blueberries and summer squash. I gave the sturgeon a diamond so that they can expand and hopefully produce some roe soon. The coop upgrade was done, so I visited Marnie's ranch, where I bought 4 little duckies called Peanut, Chickpea, Atsuki, and Pinto. After that, I went to the community center, where I finished the summer crops bundle, and then stopped by the carpenter to buy a few flooring recipes. While I was there, I also moved my pond down here and the coop by 1 tile, so that it's symmetrical with the barn. Back at the farm, I started to place down some floorings around the pond, chopped down some trees, and while I was doing that, I saw my duck swimming for the first time. If this is not your #1 reason why you're playing on the Riverlands farm, then I don't know what is. I made a layout for the tiniest tree farm ever, and then went to bed. On day 43, I did some foraging down at the beach in the morning, and after that I went to the mines to gather stone and ore. While I was doing that, I finished my first Monster Slayer goal, which was for cave insects. This rewarded me with the insect head, which I immediately sold since I already had a way better weapon. I found a ghost fish, which I'll need for the community center, and by the end of the day I managed to get to level 5 in combat, where I took the fighter profession. The next morning I upgraded my hoe at Clint's, made 3 more quality sprinklers and replaced the regular ones, and then went back into the mines to collect yet again more ore. Only this time I was a lot more successful with that, since it was a good luck day. Day number 45, I saw that my orange tree was fully grown now, which means it will yield at least 1 orange each day during summer. I waited very patiently for Sam to come out of his room, since it was his birthday. I gave him an egg because I don't have anything else that he likes. Then spent the whole day, and I mean the whole rest of the day, down in the mines at level 100, where I tried to fish up a lava eel. Emphasis on tried, I wasn't that lucky. And on day 46, I did the exact same thing. Well, first I picked up my copper hoe, then went to Willie's to stock up on bait and also bought some trout soup, but then I was back in the mines. I fished up a whole bunch of trash, my first cave jelly, but unfortunately still no lava eel. The next day I picked up my first duck eggs, then sold a few crops to Piers so that I can afford a barn upgrade from Robbins. And while I was there, I gave Demetrius a strawberry for the anniversary of his birth. Silly guy. I already saw the sign for the upcoming trout derby while I was foraging in the Cindersap forest. Very excited for that one. I bought a rare seed from a traveling cart since fall is gonna be here soon. Let's just hope I don't forget to plant it. Back at my farm, I collected a bunch of items and donated them to the community center to free up some inventory space. I really have to make more chests soon. Day 48, I admired my ducks swimming in the water and then went straight down to the Cindersap forest, because today was the first day of the trout derby. You know what that means. I managed to get 4 golden tags, which I traded in at the boot for a 10 kit, crab pot, mystery box and a diamond. I desperately needed more inventory space, so the next day I finally purchased the last backpack upgrade from Piers, and then it was back to fishing. Unfortunately, I only got 2 golden tags that day, but hey, I got this really cool mounted trout as a reward, which I proudly displayed in my farmhouse. The next morning, I visited Willie at his beach house and purchased the iridium rod. It was a good luck day, so I went into the mines, where I reset level 60 over and over for some coal and iron. I managed to get over 130 iron ore and found my first 2 coffee beans. The coffee will have to wait though until I unlock the greenhouse. Day 51. I sadly don't have any footage to show you. I don't know what happened because I specifically remember recording since it was the Green Rain event, but I don't know where the footage went, so I'm sorry. But this time actually not much happened. I spent the whole day walking around the valley collecting fiber, moss, wood and fiddlehead fern. I also saw Demetrius in his hazard suit, which I thought was funny. And yeah, that's about it. There isn't a whole lot to do during that mini event. Thanks to the Green Rain, almost all of my trees were fully grown on the farm. So I made my first 6 tappers and placed them onto the trees. I bought 2 goats named Lily and Poppy, picked up my first sturgeon roe and put it into a preserve jar. I gave Maru a diamond for a quest she posted yesterday, and then spent the rest of my day resetting floor 20 in the mines to gather copper ore. While I was doing that, I got incredibly lucky and a grub dropped a prismatic shard. Holy moly! That is a 0.05% drop chance, so that's pretty neat. My melon harvest was ready on day 53. I kept the gold ones for the community center and sold the rest. I gave George a hot pepper, Jody a cauliflower, and Pam wanted a grape, which in return she gave me another prize ticket. For that, I got 3 mystery boxes, but what I really want are those 4 preserved jars. I spent the rest of my day figuring out a layout for paths and sprinklers. Yes, I know it's unsymmetrical, I'll fix it soon. The next morning, I commissioned a gold pickaxe from Clint, opened some geodes and mystery boxes while I was there, donated to the museum, and stopped by the carpenter to purchase the big chest recipe. Back at the farm, I made a few big chests and started to relocate the empty ones and organized everything. Oh, and I also fixed the paths. It's still not perfect, but we're getting there. On day 55, I finished the quality crops bundle, did some wood chopping in the Sinasa forest, more chest organizing, and setting up a sprinkler layout. I picked up my first batch of caviar on the last day of summer, stopped by the blacksmith to get my shiny new gold pickaxe, and then was once again occupied down in the mines, where I got my hands on the monster compendium. After collecting ore and stone, it was time for everyone's favorite festival, this time for real. I was kinda tempted to buy the seafoam pudding from Pierce, but 5,000 gold is way too expensive. What's wrong with you, Pierre? After talking with the townies, we welcomed the Moonlight Jellies and enjoyed the show. My favorite season is finally here. I removed any dead crops and debris from the field, carefully calculated how many seeds I can buy, and ended up planting 80 pumpkin seeds, 16 corn, an eggplant, a few grapes, and the rest are cranberries. Oh, and don't worry, I didn't forget to plant a rare seed. Thank God. That happens every single time. By the end of the day, I made 3 more sprinklers and planted some broccoli and yams. As I was walking into town on day 58, I got the cutscene with Robin and Louis for the special order board, where I accepted Linus Community Cleanup, visited the community center and finished the artisan bundle, which gave me my first keg as a reward, then went down to floor 100 in the mines to fish up 20 pieces of trash. This time I did actually manage to hook a lava eel, but unfortunately I couldn't pull him in. Skill issue, I guess. At least I managed to finish Linus's quest. The next morning, I spent a good amount of my time fishing at the town river, where I caught a tiger trout and a salmon, which I'll need for the community center. The trout, not the salmon. I completely forgot that you get a free prize ticket every time you finish a special order, so that's cool. I really want to get my hands on those preserve jars. Later at the beach, I caught a sea and super cucumber. On day 60, I forgot to record for the first half of the day, and I promise that's the last time this happens. Anyways, I had full hearts with Rusty now, and he actually brought me a dinosaur egg. If you're confused by this statement, then let me elaborate. Ever since 1.6, your pets can bring you gifts once you have maximum friendship with them. There are several items you can get, and each pet has a different list of items. There's a 0.28% chance for a dog to bring you a dinosaur egg. What a good boy I have. So, thanks Rusty. I upgraded my watering can, then went mining, and that's when I realized I wasn't recording. But besides collecting stone and chopping wood on the farm, I didn't do that much else. On day 61, I got a letter from Marnie, who let me know that I can now adopt more pets from her if I wanted to. Since it was raining, I was once again fishing in town, where I caught a walleye and then an eel down by the ocean. With that, I had everything to finish the night fish, river fish, and animal bundle at the community center. The next morning, I picked up my first eggplant harvest. After that, I went into town, where I got my hands on the Alleyway Buffet. This book makes it so that you have a greater chance of receiving items in trash cans. I need all the free stuff that I can get. I picked up my copper watering can from Clint, and then spent the whole day fishing by the mountain lake, where I caught a midnight carp and also maxed out my first skill, which is of course fishing. I chose the angler profession so that I can get even more money from selling fish. Day 63, I sold some crops and forageables to Piers so that I can afford a deluxe barn upgrade from Robin. I had almost no wood left after that, so I spent the rest of my day chopping trees and hardwood stumps. I awoke to my first cranberry and amaranth harvest on day 64. I kept some of the amaranths for quest and shipped everything else. It was officially blackberry season, so I chucked down one of my coffees and went to work. As I was checking some trash cans around town, I got my hands on the trash catalog. Not my favorite one, but still a good find. I accepted Willie's juicy buck wanted quest, found Lannis's berry basket, returned the berry basket, and then went into the mines to get started on collecting the buck meat, which continued on day 65. I went straight into the mines and reset floor 25 until I had 100 buck meat. While I was doing that, I finally got my first ancient seed. That took way too long, but better late than never. By the end of the day, I had all the buck meat that I needed, so I rushed down to the beach, where I dumped everything in this bin next to Willie's shop. Another special request completed. The next morning, I collected another prize ticket, which earned me this super adorable bed. Upgraded my hoe at Clint's, opened some geodes and mystery boxes, where I got the Book of Mysteries from. We're making good progress on the books, donated a few pieces to the museum, and picked up my ancient seed as a reward. Unfortunately, the ancient fruit empire will have to wait a bit until I have the greenhouse, which shouldn't take that much longer. I visited Willie down at the beach, where he made good use of the buttload of buck meat I brought him. I don't remember it looking that way when I dropped it off yesterday, but I'm sure it's fine. Back at home, I swapped out my old musty bed with my shiny new one, and now it's hella cozy in here. I donated more items to the community center and finished the fall crops and exotic foraging bundle. I had Gunter at my front door on day 67, who handed me the sewer key. Thanks, buddy. The barn upgrade was done, so I went over to Marnie's, where I bought one pig named Truffle, a sheep named Chocolate, and then spent the whole day on my farm, where I laid down some paths and rearranged my machines. I was chopping down trees in the Cinnaset forest the next morning when I remembered I had unfinished business to take care of. I still don't have a lava eel, and I cannot allow that any longer. Last time I stood no chance, but this time I came prepared. Well, that wasn't too bad actually. Remember kids, bring your trout soup and cork bobbers if you're trying to catch difficult fish. Well anyways, I was sick and tired of buying bait all the time, so I crafted myself 2 worm bins and turned them into deluxe ones right away. On funny number day, I had another cranberry harvest and my fairy roses were also done. Why did I waste money on fairy roses, you ask? I have no idea. After catching that lava eel, it was time to build a second pond, because boy do I love my ponds. While I was at Robin's shop, I purchased a few more crafting recipes, gave Abigail an amethyst because it was her birthday, picked up my steel hoe from Clint, and then went mining for stones since I dumped everything on the pond construction. I awoke to a glorious pumpkin field the next morning. I harvested them and shipped almost everything off, but kept the gold ones for gifting. As I was waiting for Piers to open up, I found the garbage hat while rummaging through some trash cans. I'm gonna reserve that one for my horse. I bought more pumpkin seeds, which I planted right away, and then went into the mines yet again. After going to bed, I was very happy to see some big numbers from all the pumpkins that I've shipped off today. On day 71, I had all the items that I needed to finish the fall crops bundle, so I headed into town, where I also stopped by the special order board and accepted the prismatic jelly quest. Then dropped everything off at the community center, and with that, the pantry was completed, which means I finally have the greenhouse unlocked. I commissioned a deluxe coop upgrade from Robin, and then placed the lava eel into my newly finished pond. I spent the rest of my day resetting floor 61 in the mines, in hopes of finding the prismatic slime, but I had no luck with that. After going to bed, I watched the little rats fix up my greenhouse, and also reached level 10 in farming, where I took the artisan profession. The next day, I took some of the best items that I had and went into town, because today was the Stardew Valley Fair. I felt pretty confident about my garage display, and mostly had cool quality items, and of course the prismatic shard. And I won first prize! Suck it, Pierre! I gambled at the spinning wheel until I had enough tokens for the star drop, and then I saw that you can also get one prize ticket for 1,000 tokens. So I gambled a bit more and also got the rare crow and the sunflowers. I guess I'm going for a blue theme in my house this time. On day 73, I traded in the prize ticket for those sweet preserve jars, which I'll definitely need soon for my pawns. I managed to get my hands on enough iridium ore by now so that I could craft my first iridium sprinkler. Just that one, unfortunately, but better than none. I placed the sprinkler in my greenhouse and planted the ancient seed with some delicate speed grow on it. Then spent a good amount of my time down in the mines in search of the prismatic jelly. Still searching though. As I was tending to my animals the next day, I saw that my dino egg hatched. I ended up naming him Littlefoot, and if you understand that reference, that means we're old. Look at the little guy, he's so cute. At this point, I was sick and tired of always walking around in slow motion everywhere, so I chopped down my hardwood trees and then commissioned a stable from Robin, which I should have done a lot sooner. Then went back into the mines, where after resetting the floor a bunch of times, I finally found the little bugger. I wanted to have a memento of this glorious achievement, so I went back to my farm and placed the prismatic jelly on a stone sign. If you didn't know, the prismatic jelly will disappear from your inventory if you don't hand it over to the wizard, but you can place it on any sign and it will stay there forever. I chucked down a coffee and sprinted over to the cinnasap forest, where I saw a giant stump with a question mark above it. With 100 pieces of hardwood I can repair it, but I just dumped all of my wood on the stable, so that's not gonna happen anytime soon. I dropped off the jelly at the wizard's tower and with that got a bit of cash, but also a very important recipe. On day 75 I got said recipe in my mail, which is the monster musk. This is gonna be a tremendous help in the future with the monster slayer goals. I incubated my second dinosaur egg, bought one rabbit, which I named Nero, and a pair of shears, so that I can finally free the sheep from its wool. Then went foraging and cutting trees around the cinnasap forest. Can you believe I'm still only at level 8 in foraging? Speaking about skills, I found the Stardew Valley Almanac, but since I'm already maxed out in farming, I'm gonna save this one for later. The next morning, my stable had been finished. Everyone, please welcome Roach. But something was missing. There, perfect. Roach and I made our way into town, where I sold a few crops to Pierre, and then headed into the community center, where I finished the entire vault bundle. It is so satisfying when you can complete a whole room at once. 3 rooms done, 3 left to go. As I was returning back to my farm, I noticed that, unfortunately, Roach was too fat to go past my fish ponds. So that's a bummer. Gotta move these somewhere else soon. I placed down my crystallarium that I got from the vault bundle and popped in a jade, so that I can trade these in the future for some staircases. Chopped down my orange tree and replanted it in the greenhouse alongside with a pomegranate sapling I've gotten earlier from the prize ticket machine. Then placed down more paths around the farm and then watched the little rats fix up the old bus station. Look at them go. On day 77 I visited the desert for the first time, where I got to meet Sandy. I gave her a sweet pea while I was there and then traded in my precious prismatic shard for the glorious galaxy sword. The Holy Blade has been a reliable partner up until now, but it was time to say goodbye. The main reason why I came here was actually to get the last fish that I needed for the fish tank, which was the sandfish. After that I went back to the valley where I finished the specialty fish bundle, and with that completed another room. The next day I stopped by the carpenter to commission my first house upgrade, then went back to the desert where I headed into the skull caves for the first time. I'm pretty sure it was a bad luck day since I didn't really make it that far, but after being here for like 2 minutes I found a dinosaur floor, and a bit later I got my first treasure room on floor 13. I'm not joking. It even had really decent loot. A free crystallarium? I'll take it. I managed to get 16 iridium ore, which is really sad for a first Skull Cavern run, but that means at least 3 more sprinklers for the greenhouse. On day 79, I started on Mr. Cheese quest by placing 1 battery inside this locker, placing a rainbow shell in the box by the train station, then went once again to the desert where I bought some beets for the next step of the quest, and also bought 45 starfruit seeds. I crafted more iridium sprinklers and planted everything in the greenhouse. The next morning I rode into town where I accepted Robin's project from the special order board, upgraded my watering can, opened some geodes, donated to the museum, and then spent the rest of my day gathering hardwood and regular wood. On day 81 I woke up in a bigger house, and what's even weirder, in a bigger bed? Thanks Robin? The sweet gemberry was ready to harvest, so I went straight to the secret woods to hand it over to Master Cannoli. 3rd star drop obtained. The rest of the day I kinda just ran around the farm with Roach, planning on where I want to have future buildings. Day 82 I checked the traveling merchant, as I do every Friday and Sunday, but still no red cabbage unfortunately. Finished gathering the hardwood for Robin's quest, so I rushed over to the carpenter and dropped off all the materials. Then commissioned another coop. Why a coop? Well, since winter is right around the corner, pigs are basically gonna be useless for a whole season. So I thought I'd get started on the dinosaur coop, which will take quite a while to set up anyways. I picked up my watering can and upgraded my axe, got another prize ticket, which I traded in for Friendship 101. I purchased 3 heaters from Marnie's so that my animals can have it nice and cozy inside during winter. By the end of the day, I finished the chef and enchanter bundle. I had my last pumpkin harvest ready on day 83. I replanted some wheat seeds so that the soil will stay watered. I crafted 8 kegs and filled them with pumpkins, because I don't have anything better right now. After that, I went into the Skull Caves, where I stayed until the festival started. Despite being once again a bad luck day, I got yet again another treasure room. Later in the evening, I made my way into town, because today was the Spirit's Eve. Not much to say about this though. I bought the rare crow from Pierce, and got my hands on a golden pumpkin. And yeah, that's about it. The next morning, I harvested my last cranberries, picked up my shiny new axe from Clint, and then entered the sewers for the first time, where I got to meet Krobus. I gave him a pumpkin before he could even introduce himself. The main reason why I was here was to purchase the starter from his shop. And that's exactly what I did. Then spent the rest of my day collecting wood around the valley. And that's it for fall. I awoke to my farm being fully covered in snow on day 85. It is officially winter and also my least favorite season, but we're gonna make the best out of it, don't worry. I was disappointed to see that leaving the fall crops did absolutely nothing since almost all of the fields were gone, so that's nice. The beets were ready to harvest, so I rode into town and placed the beets inside the mayor's fridge, accepted Gus' famous omelette request, gave Krobus a pumpkin for his birthday, and while I was in the sewers, I caught my first legendary fish, the mutant carp. After that, I visited the community center and finished the winter foraging bundle. Now, we're only missing a few more items for the bulletin board, and I pray that I get that red cabbage on the traveling card. By the end of the day, I planted some powder melon and winter seeds. I was under the impression that you could also plant mixed seeds during winter, but apparently not. The next morning, I commissioned a coop upgrade from Robin, gave the sand dragon some solar essence, bought more starfruit seeds, planted them in my greenhouse, and then visited the quarry for the first time. I spent a few in-game hours clearing out the entire area, and thank God we have coal notes now. Such a nice addition. Back at the farm, I picked up the club card from a log pile, and with that, finished Mr. Cheese quest. On day 87, my second dino hatched, and I named him Ducky. My pumpkin juice was ready for collecting, so I shipped everything off and refilled the kegs with more leftover pumpkins. I stopped by Linus' tent to give him a cactus for his birthday, and then went once again to the desert, where I spent my day down in the Skull Caves. Nothing major to report though. I did manage to get another prismatic shard, and then a bit later found the Combat Quarterly, which I immediately read for an instant boost to my combat skill. The coop upgrade was finished the next morning, so I relocated my 2 dinos into the new building. I picked up my first rabbit's foot that day, so I went to this truck next to the Joja Mart and traded it in for the lucky charm. Earlier by the beach, I picked up a Nautilus shell, which I donated to the community center, and with that, finished the field research bundle. Now I'm only missing that darn red cabbage. After that, I went down to the quarry mine to pick up the golden scythe, and while I was there, something truly incredible happened. I got the infamous lucky ring from a brown slime. Holy moly. For the people who don't know, the lucky ring is one of the best rings in the entire game. I thought you could only get this from panning around Ginger Island, so I had to look this up afterwards, and apparently it's a 1.2% chance to drop from a special slime as well. So that's pretty cool. Anyways, I picked up the golden scythe, sold a few weapons and rings at the Adventure Guild, and then picked up Mapping Cave Systems. This book gives me a 50% discount on Marlon's item retrieval, which hopefully I'll never need. The lucky ring blessed me on day 89 because when I checked the traveling card, she finally had the red cabbage for sale, even the seeds. I went back to my farm to pick up the 10 hay for the fodder bundle, which I had for a very long time now but kind of forgot about. I donated the last 2 pieces, and with that, ladies and gentlemen, the community center had been completed. I'm not gonna lie to you, I am super proud of this. I remember back in summer there were a couple of times I forgot to check the traveling merchant, so I thought maybe I'd missed out on the cabbage, but we're all good now. After that, I visited Gunther at the saloon and finished his special order by placing 24 eggs in his fridge. The bookseller was in town that day and I felt like I deserved a little treat for myself, so I purchased the price catalog. With that, I can see the sell price of all of my items. It's nothing crazy, but again, it's a nice thing to have. For the rest of the day, I chopped down any remaining trees in the Cinesep forest and then headed to bed. On day 90, I received a mini fridge from Gus for completing his quest yesterday. I don't know how you managed to squeeze that into my mailbox, and I'm not gonna question that any further. As I made my way into town, I saw that every villager gathered at the community center. Mayor Lewis thanked me for fixing the building and rewarded me with the Stardew Hero Award. Thanks, buddy. I repaired the broken stump with all the hardwood pieces that I've gathered, and then tried to catch another legendary fish, but failed miserably at that. I need to be better prepared for this one. The next morning, I gave Caroline a birthday present, commissioned a deluxe coop upgrade from Robin, then had a cutscene with Linus, where I got the best friend achievement. I love this guy. I rode down to the beach, where I visited Willy. In the back of his shop, he showed me his old fishing boat and told me if I can help him repair it, he could show me some of the Fern Islands. I told him I'd be happy to help out, but unfortunately Ginger Island will have to wait a bit, since I just stumped all the hardwood on the big stump. Speaking about the stump, I got to meet the raccoon that day, who immediately asked for some food. Is it okay for me to just feed a wild animal? I didn't want it to be rude, so I brought him the clams and fish, and in return he gave me some powder melon seeds. I came prepared this time, and after a bit of struggling, I managed to pull in the glacier fish. Back at the farm, I planted the seeds the raccoon gave me and noticed there were glowing butterflies on my farm. Has this always been a thing? On day 92, it was the Festival of Ice. I purchased the pumpkin soup and rare crow from Pierre. Then it was time for the fishing competition. I love that you can see my little ducky bobber here as well, even though I'm using a different fishing pole. I got first place by fishing up 6 slimy fish. I mean, it would have been a bit embarrassing if I'd lose this one. One of the rewards was the sailor cap, which I thought would fit me a bit more instead of the straw hat. Now we're looking like a proper fisherman. Day 93, my first starfruit harvest was ready. This is going to be a nice cash boost once I turn them into wine. I visited the desert where I chopped down some of the palm trees there because I desperately need more wood. Bought more starfruit seeds from Sandy. Went up to the casino for the first time where I got to meet Mr. G. I honestly don't know why I came here. It was a very bad luck day, so I basically just wasted money on the slot machine. The next morning I picked up my first ancient fruit. Only took 94 days. I immediately put it back into the seed maker and got pretty lucky because now I have 3 more ancient seeds to plant. Back in town, I accepted Robin's resource rush, say that 3 times in a row, where she wants me to collect 1,000 pieces of stone. I put in my axe for an iridium upgraded clints, opened some geodes and mystery boxes, donated 2 more items to the museum, and then spent a few in-game hours in the Skull Caves because today was finally a good luck day. And on day 85, I did the exact same thing, Skull Caves. I got a treasure floor with a free sea foam pudding inside, so that was nice, and also a good amount of iridium ore. Day 96 was the first day of the Squid Festival. You know what that means. Cue the fishing montage. After fishing for about 10 in-game hours, I managed to get 8 squid for the Iridium tier rewards. That includes deluxe bait, mystery boxes, some cooked dishes, a pearl, a really cool squid poster, and The Art of Crabbing, another book for the collection. As I was heading back home, I noticed really cozy Christmas lights in the trees around town. Man, I love the details in this game. I commissioned another barn from Robin on day 97 for future pigs. I decided to skip out on the second festival day since I really wanted to finish the special request, so I spent pretty much the entire day resetting floor 61 to gather materials. And by midnight I had all the stones that I needed and also reached level 10 in mining, where I chose the prospector profession. The next morning I got the stone chest recipe from Robin in my mailbox. I dropped by the raccoon and he had a friend now. That was fast. The greedy little guy requested some dried powder melon, so I rode over to Pierce and purchased the dehydrator recipe, which I probably should have done a long time ago. I collected my iridium axe from Clint, got a prismatic shard from an Omni Geode, which I donated to the museum. Back at my farm, I planted more oak trees with some tree fertilizer on top, since I really need to get more kegs going. Crafted more mayo machines, which I relocated into the animal buildings, made 5 more kegs and filled them with starfruit. Believe it or not, I actually really hate placing machines in my house, but I just cannot be bothered right now to build a shed. Day 99, I commissioned a gold watering can from Clint, visited the casino once again, but this time I had a lot more luck. After a bit of gambling by the slot machine, I had enough tokens to buy a few farm warp totems and the alien rare crow. After that, I harvested more starfruit in the greenhouse, stopped by the special order board where I accepted Pierre's prime produce, then went on a little shopping spree because today was the first day of the night market. I bought some farm decorations, a very cheap seafoam pudding from the traveling merchant, the red eagle painting from Lupini, and a whole bunch of parsnip seeds so that I can hopefully finish Pierre's quest in time. I watched the whole mermaid show without music on, so it was a bit awkward. And after that, I tried to get the free pearl by pressing the correct order on these shell buttons, but for whatever reason, it just didn't work. I've done this multiple times and even had the secret note, but nothing happened. So that was a waste of my time. Anyways, last thing I did today was go down into the submarine ride where I fished up a blobfish, midnight squid, and a spookfish. On day 100, I picked up my first batch of starfruit wine. It wasn't much, but it's honest work. Another dino hatched, and I ended up naming him Sarah. The dino empire is slowly coming together. I picked up some of the winter forageables that were ready and turned them into yet again more seeds. I sacrificed all of my deluxe fertilizer on the parsnip seeds, which I of course planted in a greenhouse. Commissioned a big barn upgrade from Robin, waited for the night market to open, where I spent the rest of the evening fishing in a submarine. I rode down to the Cinnasep forest on day 101, where I gave the raccoon the dried powder melon and crystal fruit jelly, which in return he rewarded me with the raccoon's journal. I stopped by the wizard's tower to give Asmodeus some void essence for his birthday, and then did a bunch of errands around town, since by now I had a whole bunch of quests piling up in my journal. While I was doing that, I met the trash bear who asked for some maple syrup, and in return he shared his beer knowledge with me, which makes salmon and blackberries 3 times more valuable. Not that I would ever sell those, but I appreciate the gesture. more fishing in the submarine, and when I returned to my farm, I saw that another batch of starfruit wine was ready. I refilled the kegs with, yet again, more starfruit, then headed to bed. And holy moly, I forgot how well starfruit wine sells. 25,000 for just 8 bottles is insane. Day 102, I went straight to a carpenter in the morning, where I bought 2 stacks of wood and commissioned the deluxe barn upgrade. Then visited the desert, where I spent the remaining time down in the mines. Despite it being a very bad luck day, I got another lucky ring in one of the crates. Yep. I cannot wait to go to Ginger Island and combine these rings at the forge. The next morning I crafted a few more preserve jars for my fish ponds, and thank God my oak trees were finally ready, so I made a tapper for each of them, and hopefully get more oak resin soon. I stopped by the bookseller to look at his trading stock for the book duplicates I've gathered so far, but none of these trade options seemed really good, so I decided it would be better to save them for later. I made 5 more kegs, which I of course placed in my house, because where else? Swapped out all of the regular sized chests that I still had with big ones, then decorated the farm with some braziers and stone paths. I collected my parsnip harvest on day 104, but was missing 2 golden crops to finish Pierre's quest, so I unfortunately had to replant more. I gave Evelyn a chocolate cake for her birthday, picked up my golden watering can from Clint, which I should have done days ago, commissioned a 3rd pond from the carpenter, which I decided to move over here in this spot, then planned out the layout for future ponds in case I need more, which of course I do. Day 105, I woke up to more starfruit wine. I wonder how it smells in my house. It was a good luck day and also a Sunday, so I traded in all the jade that I've been collecting so far to the desert trader for 35 staircases. Not a lot, but better than nothing. Then went down into the caves. Nothing much to report though. I found yet another treasure floor where I got a blue cowboy hat. Are these more common now? I swear I've never found this many treasure rooms before. And by the end of the day, I had over 80 iridium ore. Unfortunately, I wasn't even remotely close to making it to floor 100, which is a bummer, but oh well. The next 2 days were also spent down in the Skull Cave, only on day 107. I wasn't paying attention to my health bar and died to a serpent. Thankfully, I didn't really lose all that much. On day 108, I had all the gold star vegetables for Pierre's request, so I dropped everything off at his store, collected another prize ticket, which in return gave me a free dehydrator, accepted Emily's rock rejuvenation quest, and commissioned a gold hoe upgrade from the blacksmith. I bought my first auto grabber from Marnie's, because I was sick and tired of always having to manually collect the goods from my barn animals, purchased another pig, which I named Enoki, built another stable and moved the barn building, gave Emily all the rocks and finished her quest, and by the end of the day I picked up all the winter forageables on my farm, where I finally reached level 10 in foraging. Can you believe that this is the second last skill that I max out? Kinda embarrassing. I of course took the botanist profession for those sweet iridium quality truffles. Day 109 was a lot more chill. It was the feast of the Winter Star Festival, and my secret gift recipient for this year was Jody. I gifted her a diamond, and my secret gift giver was Alex, who gave me some wine. Nothing fancy, he says. I don't know man, wine seems pretty fancy to me. Free cash for me. By the end of the day I crafted 6 more kegs, which I filled with more starfruit, and yeah, I should really get that shed going soon. Nah, it's fine. The next morning, I stopped by the raccoon, and now he had a little baby. Look how cute he is. He wanted me to bring him some dried purple mushrooms, but unfortunately I was 1 short, so that will have to wait. I bought 4 more pigs, which I named Chitake, Portobello, Buttons, and Hedgehog. And more skull caves for the rest of the day. I visited Robin's shop on day 111, where I bought some crafting recipes, picked up my gold hoe while I was in town, plastered my house with even more kegs, and then spent the remaining day decorating my farm with some braziers and fences. Oh, and I also crafted more lightning rods for the upcoming seasons. Day 112 was the last day of the season and also of this video. I went once again to the carpenter, where I finally commissioned my first shed. While I was there, I also made sure to purchase 2 stacks of wood before the prices go up next year. Back at the farm, I crafted a whole bunch of grass starters and planted them around my farm, and then I just kinda chilled around with Roach and Rusty for the rest of the day, because I didn't really feel like doing anything else. I called it in early that day and went to bed one last time. It is so nice to finally see some color on my farm again after a long winter. Also, Kent is here now, one more villager to befriend, I guess. I got a letter in my mailbox letting me know that the prices of raw materials have increased, which is just great, everyone loves inflation. As per usual, when the season changes, I cleaned up any debris on my farmland and let my animals outside. I rode into town to buy a whole bunch of seeds from Piers. Also, he sells new crop variants now, like garlic, which I'll need for cooking later on. While I was in town, I accepted another special request. This time it's from Evelyn, who wants me to gather 12 leeks for George. Back at the farm, I planted the seeds that I've bought in a very messy way. I just hold down shift while I'm running, so that's why it looks all over the place. Anyways, the remaining day I rode around the valley with Roach to start looking for those leeks, and when I came up to the train station I had a cutscene with the wizard. Long story short, he told me that he's looking for his magic ink, which is inside the house from his ex. And he needs my help to retrieve it because apparently they don't speak with each other anymore. I didn't have any time for that right now, so I left and went to bed. The next morning I got a mini shipping bin from Pierre as a thanks for the request I finished a couple of days ago, which I put into my greenhouse for now. After that I visited Kobos in the sewers, where he told me that the dark talisman is hidden behind the sealed room. I need that talisman to break the spell over at the train station to enter the witch's swamp. Krobus unsealed the passage for me, and after dealing with some grubs, I found it, and while I was there, I fished up a slimejack. Roach and I made our way yet again to the train station, where I was able to break the spell and enter the swamp. Down there, I caught a void salmon, I think my 3rd Jewels of the Sea book, and after catching 10 more void salmon, I finally fished up some void mayo, which I gave to this funny looking guy to distract him so that I can safely enter the hut. Inside, I picked up the magic ink for the wizard, teleported to his tower, and handed him the ink. With that little side quest completed, I now have access to his catalog, where I can build obelisks, Junima huts, and the infamous golden clock. I have no idea why I rushed this quest so much, it's not like I can afford anything right now anyways. Well, at least it's done now. Last thing I did today was to relocate the kegs that were outside and place them in my new shed. Day 115 I had more ancient fruit ready, which I of course turned into more seeds. I won't be mentioning this anymore, just assume I do this every few days, because I do. I made my way to the carpenter, where I commissioned a big shed upgrade. After going to bed, I had a cutscene where I saw the abandoned Georgia Mart get struck by lightning. Very interesting. The keg moving continued on day 116 and also crafted 4 more. It was a good luck day, so I took the bus over to the desert, made a pit stop at Sandy's where I bought more starfruit seeds, and then went down to the Skull Caves. While I was there, I got reminded that I still have a gold pick. Should probably upgrade it soon. I completed I think my 2nd Monster Slayer goal, which was for slaying Peppa Rex, and got a free seed maker in a treasure room. The main reason why I'm down here is because I'm trying to get batteries from iridium bats, because I know they have a slow chance of dropping them. See, I almost have everything that I need to repair Willie's boat, the hardwood, iridium, but I'm missing the batteries. Unfortunately, I didn't manage to find any today. The next day, I wanted to upgrade my pickaxe at the blacksmith, but Clint wasn't there, which is great, I just love wasting my time. While I was in the area, I checked out the abandoned Georgia Mart, where I had a look at the missing bundle. I donated 1 caviar and 1 dinosaur mayo. I bought more seeds from Piers, and also some deluxe speed grow. Back at home, I gathered a few more items and then went back to the Georgia Mart, where I donated a prismatic shard and void salmon. Now, either I'll save up 5 gold quality ancient fruit or silver quality wine. We'll just have to see what goes quicker. Later in the evening, I stopped by the bar, where I handed out some gifts to a few people. Truly the best place for gifting. As I awoke on day 118, I got the millionaire achievement. If only real life was that easy. I moved the remaining kegs from my house into the shed, and yeah, it looks a bit empty in here now. I went over to Marnie's, where I purchased a 2nd auto grabber and also the animal catalog, which is gonna come in handy really soon. After that, I upgraded my pick at Clint's, opened some geodes while I was there, donated more items to the museum, and now I'm only missing one piece to finish the mineral section. Though the artifacts on the other hand, that's another story. I didn't really do that much else. I crafted a few crab pots, which I placed down in the pond in the Cinesep forest, and that's about it. Moving on to day 119, I crafted yet again more cakes and filled them with starfruit. I gave Lewis a hot pepper for his birthday, and then pretty much spent the entire rest of my day fishing at the mountain lake. Somehow, I actually managed to pull in the legend. I was honestly kinda shocked, since my seafoam pudding ran out a few moments before that, so that's cool. The next morning, I rode into town, where I accepted Demetrius' Biome Balance quest, collected my shiny new iridium pickaxe from Clint, and put in my hoe for an upgrade as well. I stopped by Willie's shop, where I bought the fish smoker recipe, which I probably should have done a long time ago. I also purchased a few more crab pots and placed some at the beach and the rest at the pond. I'll need some crayfish for the fishing collection, but also for cooking. I was occupied for a few in-game hours at the beach, where after catching 20 ocean fish, I finished Demetrius' quest. On day 121, I got the farm computer recipe from Demetrius in my mailbox. I gave my lava eels an iridium bar so that they can hopefully produce more roe soon, and then spent the entire day cleaning up in the Cinesep forest, collecting weeds, breaking rocks, and chopping trees. I stopped by the blacksmith on day 122 to collect my iridium hoe. I gave Vincent a birthday present and then spent most of my time on the farm. I made 2 more preserve jars for the fish ponds, and when I wanted to move the ones from this little area, something terrible happened. It just fell into the water. I honestly had no idea that this could happen. I even said in my farm review that machines cannot fall into the water, so that's it. It's fine. I'm fine. It's not like preserve jars take 3 million different resources to craft. It's totally cool. I'm not upset. Anyways, quickly moving on to the next day, I went over to the desert where I bought more starfruit seeds, and then descended down into the caves. Nothing much to report, though I did manage to find 1 single battery in a crate, so I guess that's progress. After that, I teleported back home and crafted my first iridium band. The bookseller was in town on day 124, so I rode over with Roach, where I treated myself and bought a combat quarterly. I hoped it was maybe enough to reach level 10 in combat, since that was the last skill that I was missing, but it wasn't enough. But more importantly, I also bought The Way of the Wind Part 1. This makes me walk just a tiny bit faster, but oh boy, it is such a nice quality of life change. I don't know if this is a super controversial opinion, but whenever I play in my free time, I usually have the cheat menu on so that I can walk a bit faster. So yeah, this is my new favorite addition. Back at the farm, I crafted 12 more kegs and then spent the remaining day down in the mines to gather some iron ore. After going to bed that evening, I finally reached level 10 in combat, so I guess the combat quarterly did help out after all. The next morning was the egg festival, but I had no time for any egg hunt shenanigans. I was just here for those sweet strawberry seeds, and the plush bunny, and the lawn flamingo. Super important. I spent the morning of day 126 planting said strawberry seeds, with some deluxe speed grow, then went into the Cinesep forest where I visited the Mastery Cave for the first time. Grandpa left me a letter where he mentioned that this cave houses some tips, recipes, and his most cherished tools, all just for me. Thanks, Grandpa. If you're not familiar with any of this, in short, the Mastery Cave unlocks after reaching level 10 in every skill. There's 1 mastery for each skill: farming, mining, foraging, fishing, and combat. It's pretty amazing. I'm not exactly sure why I already came here, it's not like I have any mastery points at the moment, so I left. I commissioned an iridium upgrade for my watering can, gave Haley a birthday present, and then at the end of the day I picked up a whole lot of starfruit wine. On day 127, I finally found the last leak for Evelyn's quest that she posted ages ago. I visited the carpenter where I commissioned a house upgrade, dropped off all the leaks at Evelyn's house, then headed over to Marnie's where on the way got a notification that the Desert Festival is now open. Thank God there is a pop-up for this, I honestly kinda forgot about it. I bought 4 more pigs at Marnie's, and after that I took the bus over to the desert where I got a free meal from the chef, a free cactus from this booth down there. I went into the paper box next to Emily and Sandy's for some new drip. I have the same clothes on as before, but in purple. It's perfect. I accepted Marlon's Skull Cave quest, where he wants me to make it to floor 30. Thanks to the various buff from those cat statues down here, I was zooming through the levels and made it down to floor 30 in no time. By the end of the first festival day, I had over 200 eggs. Not too bad. If you didn't know, during the festival, almost all traders only accept calico eggs. Calico. Whatever. The next morning, I got a coffee machine from Evelyn for finishing the quest yesterday. Pam wasn't working today, so I drove myself over to the festival, where I got a warrior smoothie from the chef. This kinda makes me hungry. Be right back.
One eternity later.
Also, the smoothie gave me a +3 luck buff. That is kind of insane. I came a bit early today, so I chilled with Sandy until the festival was open. I accepted another quest from Malin, had a look at Elliot's and Pierre's stall, where I bought a few eggs from Pierre since he only wanted a bit of money for that. As I was down in the mines, I noticed that the buffs from my food and coffee stack with the warrior smoothie, which is pretty nuts. If I knew that, I would have come a bit more prepared. I had a very unfortunate statue which turned the mummies angry, and angry they were. I had a very close call once. I found 2 prismatic shards and finished Marlon's quest for picking up 15 iridium ore. I had to leave shortly after though, because these mummies deal way too much damage. Day 129, I forgot to record for the first 10 minutes, so it's time for another amazing presentation from yours truly. And don't worry, I'm using a black background this time. As I was in the mines yesterday, I found a couple of purple mushrooms, which if you remember from the last video, I needed for the raccoon. So I dried them in the dehydrator and brought everything over to him, who in return gave me a raccoon hat. I picked up the watering can at the blacksmith, and now all my tools are fully upgraded. Well, except the pan, which I kinda forgot about, and then realized I wasn't recording. It was the last day of the Desert Festival, so I headed over and had a look at all of the different vendors. I decided to trade my eggs for 1 magic rock candy, 5 lucky lunch, and the rest for mega bombs. I did some fishing while I was there and caught a scorpion carp. And yeah, that's about it. Didn't really feel like going into the mines for the 3rd time in a row. The next day, I woke up in our bigger house. It's a bit empty right now, but we'll focus on decorating a bit later. I gave Pam a birthday present and then rode down to the beach to visit Willie's shop, because I finally had all the materials for the boat repair. Or so I thought. I was missing 4 pieces of hardwood, so I made a quick detour to the secret woods to collect the remaining pieces. But then I was back again. I donated 5 iridium bars, 5 battery packs, and the 200 pieces of hardwood. The rest of my day was spent on the farm. I don't remember what I did, I just wrote down made more tappers, so I guess that's what I did. After going to bed, I saw Willie and Robin fixing up the old boat. You know exactly what I did on day 131. In case you don't, I brought a few coffees and also a farm work totem with me, and then immediately went to Willie's shop. It is finally time to visit Ginger Island. I love this little animation, it's so cute. And here we are. I made my way into the jungle where I found my first of many golden walnuts. A bit further up ahead, I met a strange little boy who was accompanied by the most adorable parrot. I got a bit distracted by the funny sounds the parrot makes. And off I went, looking for more walnuts. While exploring around the island, I got to meet Birdie, who gave me a war memento which started the Pirate's Wife questline. I'll deal with that another day. Later in the evening, I managed to find enough golden walnuts to unlock the farmhouse. Gotta be honest with you, I don't think I ever unlocked the farmhouse on the first visit, so that's nice. I awoke in my very beautiful but also very empty beach house on day 132. But I had nothing to do here for now, so I zoomed back home to the valley. My first strawberry harvest was ready. While I was picking them up, I reached my first mastery point, which is very exciting. I crafted 12 more kegs, which I of course filled with more starfruit. I don't know if this is the most efficient layout for kegs, so someone please let me know in the comments down below. I started on the pirate quest that day by handing Kent the war memento, the gourmet tomato salt to Gus, the Stardew Valley rose to Sandy. While I was bringing the TV remote to George, I saw that Evelyn prepared all the leeks that I've gathered the other day and packed them in very nicely for her husband. This has to be one of the cutest cutscenes in the game. While I was making my way towards the Wizard's Tower, I stopped by the Mastery Cave, where I ended up choosing the Combat Mastery. Ironically, the last one that I maxed out. With that, I get access to the mini forge and anvil recipe, but more importantly, trinkets. Since I'll be spending a good amount of my time down in the mines and the volcano in the near future, I thought this was the best choice for me right now. Anyways, after I traded all the items with the villagers, I went back to Ginger Island, where I handed Birdie the pirate's locker, and with that finished her quest. As a thanks, she taught me how to make fairy dust and also gave me 5 golden walnuts. As I was looking for even more walnuts, I actually found my first snake vertebra. I know that he said that he upped the drop chance for this, but this fast? Well, I'm not complaining. I spent the remaining day setting up some iridium sprinkers at the island farm, and good lord, it is such a nightmare to set these up without the UI info suit. I planted some starfruit and garlic seeds and made it to bed just in time. Also got 69,000 from the starfruit wine that I sold. Nice. The next morning I made my way back to the valley and prepared for a Skull Cavern run. Since it was a Sunday, I was able to trade all my jade for staircases. I was determined to reach floor 100 today. So off I went. I found a free auto grabber in a treasure chest, which is absolutely amazing. And yeah, after a little while, I made it. Mr. Chi was waiting for me on floor 100 along with his pet snakes. He wasn't very impressed though, since I skipped quite a few floors with staircases, but nevertheless, I made it. By drinking the iridium snake milk, my health got permanently increased. Sweet. I still had a bit of time left, so I made my way even further down and by the end of the day reached floor 126 and got a decent amount of loot from my trip as well. Today I crafted myself 4 more lightning rods so that I can hopefully get more batteries in the future. I stopped by Robin's shop where I commissioned a house upgrade for a cellar. And now I'm poor once again. While I was there I wanted to hand Sebastian a frozen tear, but I didn't have enough friendship points to enter his room. So I kinda just stood there, awkwardly, and hoped that he would come out. We've all been there. Back in Pelican Town, I accepted Gunther's Fragments of the Past quest, where he wants me to collect 100 pieces of bone. I made my way up to the mines, and stopped yet again by the carpenter, but this time thankfully Sebastian was in the kitchen, so I handed him the gift. I spent the remaining time down in the mines to get started on collecting the bones, but also to gather some iron ore. Day number 135 rolled around, and I headed straight towards the beach in the morning to visit Ginger Island. It was finally time to explore the volcano. Before that, I remembered that I still haven't talked to that strange little boy we met the first time. He asked if I was a bird friend, and then poked me a little. Turns out his name is Leo, and he's been living on the island for quite a while now. Yet another villager to befriend. Yay! Anyways, after that, it was time for a dungeon dive. Or volcano dive, I guess. I'm not gonna lie, it is extremely awkward to run around in here without the sick volcano music. The very first floor that I entered had 4 dragon tooth just laying around, and I was super happy about that. Incredibly rare crafting material that I will need to finish my perfection run in the future. And a minute later, a tiger slime dropped a frog egg. My first trinket, and a good one at that. I immediately equipped him in my trinket slot. Look at him, he's so cute. If you don't know, there's I think 8 trinkets that you can find once you have the combat mastery unlocked. Each of them have different perks that can help you while exploring dungeons and caves. The frog is incredibly helpful. He will just straight up swallow any enemy near you with a 12-second cooldown. However, what I really want is the parrot egg. My lucky streak continued because there was a treasure chest on this room as well, where I got my hands on the Dragon Tooth Club. Now, usually I don't bother with clubs since they're so slow, but this one had a +5 speed enchantment, so I decided to swap it out with my Galaxy Sword, for now at least. After a bit more exploring, I made it to the 5th floor, where the dwarf was waiting for me. But he refused to speak with me. Right, because I'm still missing the last scroll for the translation guide. Welp, nothing to do here, then venture forward. I found another rare treasure chest, which had the dragon scale boots inside, which I immediately swapped out, of course. And by the end of the day, I made it to the top of the forge, where I enchanted my axe, where I got the Swift perk. Honestly, it's not bad. Could have been worse. I teleported back home with a warp totem, and that concludes a very successful first day in the volcano dungeon. The next morning I collected another strawberry harvest, picked up 17 bottles of wine, and then headed towards the Cinnasep forest because today was the flower dance. Let's just get this over with. I bought the rare crow and top of flower recipe from Pierce, and wanted to ask Sebastian to be my dance partner, but I had exactly 1 heart with him, so that's not gonna happen. I actually just wanted to leave, but instead I asked Haley to be my dance partner, and to my surprise she actually said yes. So I danced with Haley. I guess that's better than just standing there alone. I love how my frog is also in a cutscene, so cute. Moving on to day 137, I stopped by the abandoned Johto Mart, where I finished the missing bundle by donating 5 gold star ancient fruit. The little Junimo, rat, thanked me and waved his goodbyes. Now something good will happen soon. I sure hope so. The bookseller was in town once more, where I bought The Way of the Wind Part 2, which stacks with the first one that I bought. And I also bought Horse, the book, which makes my horse go faster. After that, I upgraded my Panet Clints and opened a few geodes and mystery boxes. I decided not to open the Omni geodes this time. Instead, I made a quick trip to the desert, where I traded them in for some artifact troves, since I'm still missing quite a few artifacts for the museum and only 1 mineral. Back I went to the blacksmith to open said artifact troves, and yeah, at least I got 2 new pieces to donate. I spent the remaining day down in the mines to gather more bones for Gunther's quest. I chucked a monster musk, and also made sure to unequip my frog companion, since I need all the loot that I can get for myself. I finished another monster slayer goal, and then wanted to hand Sebastian another frozen tear, but for the absolute life of me, I just couldn't find him. As we all know by now, I just love wasting my time. So back to the mines I went, and by the end of the day made pretty decent progress towards finishing the quest. After going to bed, I saw the tiny little rat fixing up the Johto Mart all by himself. You can do it, little man, I believe in you. Next morning, I saw that my cellar had been finished. I put in a few goat cheese and a bunch of wine for aging into the free casks that I had. I can already taste the money from that. After that, I made my way over to Ginger Island, where I repaired the broken bridge over to the dig site, then freed the professor from this cave with a well-placed bomb. He said he'd been stuck in there for months and had to rely on mushrooms for food, which is absolutely disgusting. I hate mushrooms. While I was there, I collected more golden walnuts and also cleared out all the bone piles on the dig site, and with that finished Gunther's quest. Later, I visited the gourmet frog. Unfortunately for me though, I didn't have anything to show him since he asked for, and I quote, the pink and juicy, which is the melon, and I don't have that planted yet. I collected the 3 bone pieces that I found so far and brought them over to the field office. I also did the island survey for more free walnuts, which I definitely knew all by myself and didn't look up on the wiki. Last thing I did today was some fishing by the ocean, where I got more walnuts and also a lionfish. Day 139, I gave Emily a birthday present, dropped off the bones for Gunther at the museum, collected another prize ticket, which I traded in for some stardew tea, which I immediately gifted to Sebastian, who responded with, "I'll drink this when the sky gets dark." Okay, Edward Cullen. If it isn't obvious by now, I'm trying to romance Sebastian, since that's what y'all voted for. We love an emo guy. But yeah, and while I was in town, I also checked out the movie theater. Such a cool building. I bought a whole stack of K from Marnie's, which is way too expensive, but my animals are getting grumpy and I can't allow that. Then stopped by the raccoon, who asked for some tomato juice and pickled radish. Whatever makes you happy, buddy. Later, I spent a good amount of my time fishing by the ocean. I was trying to catch a crimson fish, but guess what, it's still spring, and he only spawns during summer. But I quickly realized my mistake, so I spent the remaining time chopping trees. It was the last day of spring, on day 140. I got the bone meal recipe from Gunther in my mailbox, picked up the final strawberry harvest and cauliflowers. I didn't really know what to do for the rest of the day, so I visited the island once again. I got a blue discus and then went into the volcano. I got pretty decent loot and also a soul sapper ring, which is pretty neat, but I already had all the rings that I needed, which reminded me that I should really combine the rings at the forge soon. As the season rolled over on day 141, I went to Pierce, where I bought a ton of the new seeds and also some grass starters for my animals. Back at the farms, I planted the seeds, Mostly it's blueberries and melons, but also some red cabbage, tomato, radish and hot peppers for the shipping collection. And yeah, this took up most of my day. Yes, I know I still have quality sprinklers. I'm working on it, don't worry. Later, I went to the movie theater with Sebastian to watch Journey of the Prairie King. I bought him some jasmine tea, which I of course knew was his favorite snack, and we had a good time together. The next morning, I crafted 44 casks and filled most of them with starfruit wine. I have no idea what the best layout for the cellar is, but I didn't have any more wine right now anyways, so I'll just leave it like that for now. Then visited Ginger Island once again to donate the mummified bat to the field office, which gave me a few walnuts, and for the rest of the day I tried to do this freaking mini game for more walnuts. Rewatching the footage is embarrassing to say the least. And yeah, I just couldn't do it. Skill issue, definitely. So after 10:30, I left and did a walk of shame back home. Moving on to a more exciting day, as I was picking up some truffles, I got another mastery point. After tending to my animals, I rushed over to the cave and was debating on whether to pick the farming or foraging mastery. But I ended up on the farming one for this sweet iridium scythe. And the animal crackers are also nice, I guess. Then teleported to the beach, because I wanted to do another dungeon dive at the volcano. But I forgot to bring my prismatic shards, so I had to waste another farm warp totem, but then I was finally there. I didn't find anything too interesting that day, but I did combine my iridium band with the lucky ring, which is great, and also enchanted both axe and hoe, which both got the efficiency perk, which at this point in the game is absolutely useless. At least I can wear both of my lucky rings now, which feels amazing, not gonna lie. I dropped off the tomato juice and pickled radishes for the raccoon on day 144, and in return he gave me some fairy dust. I gave Jazz a fairy rose for her birthday, then found the last mineral in an omni geode, which I of course donated. That's the first collection completed. Since it was summer now, I was able to catch that crimson fish, and a bit later, in the forest, I caught the new gooby fish. The next morning, it was finally raining again. Hopefully I'll get more batteries soon. I spent a good amount of my time in a greenhouse, where I planted a whole bunch of more ancient seeds. And yeah, it's almost full now. I collected my first batch of aged wine and then filled more casks with starfruit wine. Later I headed over to the island, where I didn't really do that much. I was once again in the volcano to find cinder shards, and I just love the frog. Look at him go! By the end of the day, I had enough walnuts to build the island resort. I didn't really want to build it just yet, because it's a nightmare to find villagers for gifting, but I needed to unlock the other side of the beach. You'll see soon why. Day 146, I walked back home and was happy to see that my lightning rods made a bunch of batteries. With that, I crafted 9 iridium sprinklers, which I set up on the island farm. I also got to test out my new iridium scythe, which is so satisfying. Sadly, I didn't even have nearly enough starfruit seeds to plant, which is really sad. I now had access to the southeast side of the beach, where I collected 2 more walnuts, and then fished in the pirate grove. While I was fishing, I got suddenly kicked out. Never seen that happen before, because the pirates were visiting today. I cannot even tell you how many days I've wasted on previous playthroughs where I was just waiting for the pirates to show up, and they never did. So I was super excited about that. There isn't really a whole lot to do here, but I did play darts 3 times, which earned me 3 more walnuts. Also love the parrots that are flying around in here. Soon I'll have my own. So the whole reason why I was here in the first place was to fish up a stingray. I'll need this little guy for my pond. Might seem like an odd choice at first, but stingrays have a chance to produce dragon tooth, which I'll need for a few crafting recipes later. Next day, I placed the stingray in my pond, which I honestly kind of forgot about. I bought a stack of wood from Robin, which I need to craft more kegs. I visited Sandy, where I bought rhubarb and starfruit seeds, and now I'm broke again. You know what they say, you gotta make money to spend money. Back on Ginger Island, I planted sad seeds and also 2 coffee beans, and then just kinda ran around the island, collecting materials and such. The following day was raining again, which means more batteries for me. Donated 3 artifacts to the museum, waited for the saloon to open up since it was Gus's birthday, who I handed a diamond, bought a void egg from Krobus, which I incubated in one of my cubes, and yeah, more running around the farm, decorating a bit with fences. I had Gus at my front door on day 149, who handed me a mini jukebox and the blueprint for one. After that conversation, I was once again occupied in the volcano dungeon for most of the day. The tiger slime dropped a free mango sapling, which I'll need very soon. Other than that, nothing much happened. However, the 2 lucky rings blessed me with an incredible treasure chest, which contained the deluxe pirate hat. Only the most infamous pirate could pull off this look, as if it was made for me. For anyone who watched any other videos of mine, knows that this is my favorite hat in the entire game. I just love it. Now, of course, that means I have to get rid of my trash hat, but luckily Rusty will take good care of it. Day 150 was a doozy. Not much happened. I gave Mara a birthday present, bought more deluxe speed grow, and now the greenhouse was officially full of ancient fruit. Then spent the remaining time at the quarry because I really needed more coal. I forgot to record for the first 5 minutes on day 151, but you really didn't miss anything. Anyways, as you can see, I'm already at the luau. I wanted to skip out on the festival, but I simply cannot say no to free friendship points with everyone. Later in the evening, I made 13 kegs, collected a whole bunch of starfruit and strawberry wine. Yes, strawberries. I ran out of starfruit at one point. It's definitely not worth putting strawberries into kegs, I'll tell you that much. I shipped off the strawberry wine and saved the starfruit for casks. The next morning I removed the oak trees next to the greenhouse so that I have space for another shed, which I commissioned from Robin shortly after. I don't know if I'm gonna leave it here, but I just don't have space anywhere else right now. I swapped out the quality sprinklers in the greenhouse for iridium ones and made 20 more casks. I stopped by the tavern later on, where I handed out some gifts and also saw Robin dancing with a ghost. Good for her. Day 153 rolled around and I had a melon harvest that I took care of. It was a good luck day, so I headed over to the skull cave where I found a blue frog egg, and about 5 minutes later I found the ice rod. And then also my first animal cracker. I swapped out the frog egg with the newly obtained ice rod, which I'm a huge fan of. As the name suggests, it shoots out particles of ice that stuns enemies for a short period of time, which is super helpful, especially in the volcano. Not much else to report from this trip. I did get a purple slime egg a bit later, but honestly I don't think that I'm gonna build a slime hutch on my farm. We'll just see. Next day I put the golden animal cracker into my lava eel pond, then visited the island to show the gourmet frog my harvest. The melon, wheat and garlic, which earned me a bunch of golden walnuts, and I thought I now maybe had enough to enter the walnut room, but unfortunately I'm missing 6 to enter. With the walnuts that I had, I did unlock the Parrot Express and also the mailbox service on the island. As I was tending to my animals on day 155, I saw that my void chick hatched and I ended up naming him Nugget. I stopped by Robin's shop, where I saw Sebastian and Sam, who were about to play Solarian Chronicles, and asked if I wanted to join. We managed to defeat Gizarth, that guy, and ended up with a B rating, which I think is the first time that I got that. Anyways, I was actually here to commission a big shed upgrade from Robin, which I did. I put in my pan for an iridium upgraded Clint, and while I was in town, I accepted the Curious Substance quest from the Special Order board. Since I didn't really have anything better to do, I thought I might as well get started on that right away. I chucked down a monster musk, and a little while later I finally found the last dwarvish scroll, and surprisingly shortly after I managed to get my hands on the ectoplasm. So I sprinted over to the Sinasa forest, where I checked up on the raccoon, who yet again asked for more items. I dropped off the ectoplasm for Rasmodius and finished the quest. The next morning I got the mini obelisk crafting recipe in my mailbox, donated the last scroll to the museum, and now finally had the dwarvish translation guide. Then I headed yet again over to the island, where I planted a few ancient seeds with some deluxe speed grow. I went back to the valley and finally said hello to the dwarf in the mines, where I purchased the dwarvish safety manual, the big stone chest recipe and the rare crow. The safety manual makes it so that I take 25% less damage from bombs. It's a nice thing to have. Later in the evening I dropped off the requested goods for the raccoon, which in return he gave me a jungle tank. I don't know how exactly I am holding this. I love the jungle tank because now my 2 frogs have a new home. Look at them, they're so adorable. Day 157 was spent entirely on the farm, redecorating and organizing stuff. I absolutely hated the location of the second shed. I actually hated where both of them were, so I decided to remove the stone path next to the stingray pond and move both of them down here. I also swapped out the dino coop with the pig barn, since the pigs obviously need to be outside whenever they can, while the dinos can just be inside. And yeah, this took up most of my day. I had to run back like 5 times to the wizard's tower in order to move everything how I wanted it to. Not gonna lie, it's a bit of a nightmare to move things around here. I also crafted 2 mini obelisks and placed one of them next to the sheds. And by the end of the day, I was pretty happy with everything, for now at least. I collected a whole shed of starfood wine on day 158, then visited my island farm to see if the starfood there were done growing. They were not, so that was a waste of my time. Back at the farm, I refilled the kegs with the first ancient fruit and also a few strawberries, unfortunately. I started working on the new shed by placing more kegs, and as I was picking up truffles, I reached my 3rd mastery level. Just like last time, I went right away to the cave and took the foraging mastery, which unlocks a whole bunch of useful stuff, the mystic tree, treasure totems, and golden mystery boxes. With my newly obtained knowledge, I crafted myself 3 mystic tree seeds, which, for whatever reason, I decided to plant behind my house. Today, my pockets felt a lot heavier than yesterday, thanks to the abundance of starfood wine that I had sold. I gave Demetrius a strawberry for his birthday. Then it was time for another volcano run. As expected, the ice rod is a huge help in here. Now that I can finally understand the dwarf and see his shop inventory, I bought the ginger ale and island warp totem recipe from him. A little while later, I re-enchanted my axe and hoe. The hoe now has the generous perk and the axe swift, same as the pickaxe. I found my first golden mystery box and also 2 more dragon tooth, which is great. It was the first day of the Drought Derby on day 160, but I had no time for that, unfortunately. I had big plans. Well, not really, but it was important. I picked up my iridium pant at Clint's. My starfruit harvest was finally ready over on the island farm, so I picked everything and replanted more seeds. I had to run back home, unfortunately, because I forgot my fishing rod. I spent a good amount of my time at the dig site, where a little while later I found the fossilized tail, and after that the fossilized spine, which I donated to the field office. Now I'm only missing the head and a second snake vertebra. The next day I headed once again over to Ginger Island to do more Ginger Island shenanigans. This time I was in the volcano. I traded 10 diamonds for the Diamond Hunter book and got my hands on the mermaid boots a bit later, which I swapped out with the dragon scale boots. Day 162 I gifted the dwarf an aquamarine for his birthday, gave Sebastian his 50th frozen tier, made a quick trip to the desert where I traded my Omni Geodes for more artifact troves, which I cracked open over at Clint's, and donated the new pieces to the museum. Now we're only missing 2 more artifacts to finish the collection. After that I purchased any remaining tree saplings that I didn't have yet from Pierre's, that I planted in a greenhouse, along with another mango sapling I've gotten in a golden coconut before. An ominous green rain poured down on day 163, but this time I didn't forget to record. My mystic trees were fully grown now, so I crafted a tapper for each of them, stopped by the raccoon to look at the items that he wanted this time, and then spent all day in the Cinnasap forest getting fiber, moss, and chopping trees. Later I gave the crayfish and smoked fish to the raccoon, who gave me yet again more fairy dust, which I never use. The next morning I gifted Willy a pumpkin for his birthday, then visited the island again. I don't really know why I came here. I guess I wanted to try and catch an octopus, but it was already too late for that. So instead I tried my luck on this stupid puzzle once again. As you can see, I was clearly having a great time. But after a few more attempts, I actually did it! I beat the freaking puzzle. I'm gonna be real with you, I don't think I ever managed to do that before. I was hyped. I mean, it was obviously the easiest thing I've ever did in my entire life. And now I never want to do that again. Victoriously, I marched over to the walnut room and was finally allowed to enter. Inside waited a familiar face for me, Mr. Chi. who introduced me to G-Chems and his special order board. While I was there, I had a look at the perfection tracker. I mean, it's not as bad as I thought it would be. Then accepted G's Hungry Challenge, where I need to make it to floor 100 in the Skull Cave without eating or drinking while there. Because there is no way in hell that I can score 50,000 points in Junima card. Screw that. I got a very interesting letter on day 165 from Fizz, who apparently had the perfect solution for the Chi challenge. I've never seen this letter before, so that was kinda exciting, but unfortunately I very quickly forgot about that. Anyways, I waited for the blacksmith to open up, where I bought some copper and iron ore so that I can craft more kegs. Collected my first batch of aged fruit wine and refilled the kegs with more starfruit, and yeah, pretty much spent the remaining day on the farm, where I swapped out the quality sprinklers that I still had with iridium ones. I moved Rusty's bowl to this corner for now, and yeah, was pretty happy with the new layout. And the next day I did the exact same thing, working on the farm. I did also stop by the island to give Leo a birthday present, remove the remaining quality sprinklers, and finally have everything with iridium ones now. Only took 1.5 years. Since most of my money comes from the greenhouse and Ginger Island crops, I thought I might as well make it look more nice on the farm. And by the end of the day I was done with remodeling everything. The bookseller was once again in town on day 167, where I bought all slither legs, which makes me run faster through crops and grass, and the Queen of Sauce cookbook, which lets me learn all of the cooking recipes that air on TV, just in case I miss something. I actually wanted to go to the Skull Cave today to work on Mr. G's quest, but it was a very bad luck day, so that's a no-go. Instead, I spent the third day in a row on the farm. I also moved back Rusty's bowl because I felt bad for having it all the way back there. I replanted some hardwood trees, reorganized my chest, and that's about it. Despite the fortune lady telling me luck will not be on your side, I still had to go over to the Skull Cave because today was the last day for the quest. It was also a Sunday, so I had plenty of staircases for my run. I ate a rock candy before entering and then slowly descended down. I found 2 treasure floors, which both had golden mystery boxes inside. Somehow managed to find a 3rd frog egg, still no parrot unfortunately. And after a little while, I made it to floor 100 without consuming any food on the way. My reward was another treasure room with some tomato seeds inside. Thanks, I guess. I finished another Monster Slayer goal, which I think was for bats this time, and then headed back to the valley where we enjoyed the Dance of the Moonlight Jellies festival. This never gets boring. Fall was here once again. I prepared the field, accepted Clint's Cave Patrol quest, and bought seeds from Piers. Mainly cranberries and pumpkins, but I also purchased some ingredients for cooking. Planted the seeds at home and watered everything. After that I gave Sebastian a frozen tier, which bumped me up to 8 hearts with him. So I was able to gift him a bouquet and finally invited him to the movies. We watched Mysterium and Sebastian seemed to have a great time. Back at home I started on some cooking recipes, but got bored almost immediately, so I stopped and went to bed. I collected my first mystic syrup on day 170, which I crafted into 3 treasure totems. I'm hoping that these are gonna help me find the remaining artifacts for the museum and field office. I met Penny in town, who I gave a diamond for her birthday, and then visited the island. I've already collected 2 gems ever since I came to the island, so I tried to solve the puzzle on my own, and that's exactly what I did. 5 more golden walnuts for me. After that, I went to my island farm to test out the treasure totem, and yeah, it's pretty good. Not only did I get the snake vertebra, which was the most important one, I got random hat, a book, 2 golden coconuts, and another animal cracker. I donated the piece to the field office, finished another set, which gave me more walnuts, and another mango sapling. Dude, I need a banana sapling, not a 3rd mango tree. Back in the valley, I had a very cute cutscene with Sap, where we just stood in the rain. Very romantic, I guess. I traded my Omni Geodes for more artifact troves, which I wanted to open right away, but the blacksmith was already closed unfortunately. Day 171, I crafted more kegs for the second shed. I'm not gonna mention this anymore, I'll just give an update once the shed is full, alright? Then visited once again Clint and opened the artifact troves. where I got my hands on the Treasure Appraisal Guide. I've been waiting for this one. With that, I found every single book and got the well-read achievement. The Treasure Appraisal Guide makes artifacts more valuable, and you know why that's so amazing? Because dino eggs count as artifacts as well, making the eggs more valuable than the mayo. I rushed back home to sell off the dino eggs I've been hoarding so far, and honestly, that's pretty decent money. I love my dino cube. After that, I visited the desert to try and get my hands on the gold mask artifact, which has a chance to appear in dig spots at the desert. I used my second treasure totem and actually got it. I was feeling lucky, so I went back to the valley up to the mountain lake, where I used my last totem in hopes for getting the final piece. And yeah, that's exactly what happened. I got the prehistoric hand axe. Thank God we have treasure totems now. Of course, I immediately went to the museum and donated the last 2 pieces, which got me the complete collection achievement and another star drop. I was super hyped about this. I did not think that we could finish the museum this early. But we did, thanks to the totems of course. Day 172 was spent almost entirely on Ginger Island. I planted more ancient fruit with deluxe speed grow, I accepted the 4 precious stone quest from Chi, and then headed into the volcano. I found a tiger head, which is absolutely adorable, but other than that, nothing interesting happened. Next morning, I collected almost a full shed of starfruit wine, refilled most with ancient fruit, shipped everything off, and I cannot wait to see the money of that. I gave Elliot a pomegranate for his birthday, then spent a good chunk of my time down in the mines, where I finished Clint's cave patrol quest by slaying 50 bats. As I made my way back home to the farm, I got jump scared by a giant opossum. Look at the size of that thing. I've never seen an opossum in real life, and I hope it stays that way. That is straight up nightmare fuel. I awoke to very heavy pockets on day 174, for I was a millionaire thanks to the Starfruit and Ancient Fruit Empire, so it was time to build the first obelisk. See, my plan this whole time was to save up so I can build myself the island obelisk first, but I'm a complete idiot. First of all, I only had half of the dragon tooth, and second, I forgot that for some reason you need bananas for the obelisk, which, as you know, I don't have. So I ended up building the earth and water obelisk, and with that finished another personal goal. I think it was a good luck day, because after that I went to the Skull Cave, but I actually don't remember what I was doing here. But anyways, I reached my 4th mastery level shortly after, and later on floor 100 I found a prismatic shard in a treasure chest. 175 rolled around and the rain was pouring down on the valley, so I visited the old marina by the ocean and bought the mermaid pendant from him. With that, I proposed to Sebastian, in the rain of course, because I'm just that romantic, then visited the island once again, because earlier I saw Gus walking towards Willie's ship, which means that he's at the island as well today. And there he is, tending to the bar, where I bought the tropical curry recipe, and also one meat for some reason. I had a chat with a golden Georgia parrot to see how much he would want to find all my remaining walnuts. 200,000 is actually not that bad. I'm gonna be completely honest with you, I don't think I ever found all of the walnuts, so this is definitely an option for later on. Anyways, I was once again occupied in the volcano dungeon, and by now I have found enough walnuts to build the warp totem on the island, which is by far the best looking obelisk. Morning on day 176, I crafted a second iridium band. Why didn't I do that earlier? Well, I was missing the materials for that. I made my way over to the Cinesep forest and into the Mastery Cave, where I took the Mining Mastery. This unlocks the statue of the Dwarf King, Heavy Furnace, and gem-bearing rocks now grant twice the gems. I'm hoping this also counts for when you find a prismatic shard, but I don't think it does. Back at home, I immediately crafted the dwarf statue, which lets me choose from 2 mining-related buffs each day. And yes, I know I haven't made the Statue of Blessing yet, I don't have the fiber for that at the moment. I brought the 3 golden coconuts that I had over to the blacksmith, in hopes of finding the last piece for the field office, and I actually got it, the fossilized skull. Of course I visited the island after that and donated the last piece. The professor was more than happy with the finished collection and in return showed me a crafting recipe for an ostrich incubator, and now I only need to find an egg. But what I was way more excited about was the banana sapling he gave me, which I planted next to the mango tree. After that I spent the remaining day in the volcano where I found 4 dragon tooth and also combined my iridium band with the other lucky ring, and now my loadout is pretty much complete. Day 177 was spent entirely in the Skull Cave, and I just want to mention again, I absolutely love the ice rod. It is so handy. I found another purple slime egg, finished another Monster Slayer goal while I was here, which I think was for mummies. Other than that, not too much happened. Unfortunately, I didn't find another prismatic shard today. Day 178 was our wedding day. Look how cute we are. We tied the knot, and from now on, Sebastian is going to live at the farm with me. I didn't have any time to mingle though, because I had work to do. First, I commissioned a third silo from Robin, then bought a whole stack of hay from Marnie. While I was there, I also purchased this adorable doghouse from Rusty. I decided to paint my farm buildings today, and I think it looks kinda nice. I also moved Roach stable for now, because I wanted to relocate my chests, and that's what I did. And yeah, by the end of the day, I was almost done with moving everything. Next morning, I admired Sebastian's spouse room, and of course said good morning to my husband. Look, I know the house is a bit empty at the moment. I'm working on it, alright. I gave Jodie a diamond for her birthday, and then moved Roach stable next to the house again. Perfect. I also turned my regular furnaces into heavy ones. I collected a whole lot of wine today, used an island warp totem and visited the island to harvest the ancient fruit there. Also saw that my mango tree was fully grown by now. With all the wine that I've sold yesterday, my pockets were filled yet again with money, and I felt like treating myself with something nice. Something nice being the Wizard catalog, which is probably my favorite one out of the new ones. After, I stopped by Robin's, where I purchased the furniture catalog as well, and added an attic to the house. And that's all my money gone again. But that's money well spent in my opinion, because it's time to make the inside also look nice. As I wanted to start decorating, I realized I forgot to purchase the wallpaper and flooring catalog, so I headed over to Pierre's where I sold a few items and bought the catalog from him. Then spent the remaining day decorating, which continued on day 181. I also went to the carpenter again where I added a corner room to the house. Next day I was still decorating. I like to take my time with that. But on day 183 I was done, for now at least. It's still a bit empty here and there, but we'll add more stuff in the future. It was a good luck day, so naturally I was off to the desert where I gave Sandy a birthday present and then went down into the mines. I found the magic quiver a little while later, which, another trinket, I'm a huge fan of. The only thing that I don't like about this is the incredibly irritating sound it makes. I got another auto grabber on the treasure floor, but no prismatic shards. It was once again time for the Stardew Valley Fair on day 184. Not too much to say about it though. I actually don't know why I even came here, but I'm glad I did, because I saw that there was another prize ticket at the trading booth. I guess you can get one every year, which is nice. The next morning I traded in the ticket for 4 kegs, then did some fishing at the town river where I caught the angler, which is by far the easiest out of all of the legendary fish to catch. Now we're only missing 2 fish to finish the collection. An octopus, and the other one I'm actually not quite sure what it is. Day 186, I had a full shed of wine to collect, but I didn't have enough ancient fruit to refill them, so I was off again to the island, and on my way there I saw Marnie, who I gave a diamond for her birthday. I harvested my star fruit and ancient fruit over at the island farm, which never gets boring. I absolutely love the Iridium's life. I replanted as many starfruit seeds as I had, but of course I didn't have enough to fill out everything. Back at the valley, I refilled the rest of the kegs, and yeah, that's it for the day. Day 187 was spent entirely in the Skull Cave. While I was slaying some monsters, I got the final mastery level. I found a prismatic shard, which is the main reason why I came here, and on day 188 I did the exact same thing, dungeon diving. And I am beyond happy that I came here today, because I finally found the parrot egg, which I think was also the last trinket that I was missing. Look at him, he's sitting on my shoulders. Basically, the parrot has a chance to drop some money every time you kill an enemy. I mean, I'm mainly having him equip that because he's just so damn cute, but a little bit of money is always nice. A little while later, I found a 3rd prismatic shard. The following day, I crafted myself an anvil to reinforce my parrot egg. Some trinkets have different levels to boost their stats, and I got mine up to level 3, which means I can get more money from slaying enemies. I stopped by the carpenter where I gave Robin a birthday present and commissioned a community upgrade to build Pam and Penny a house. I didn't really have anything else to do that day, so I decided to get my hands on the 3 secret statues. One for placing duck mayo in this box at the saloon, another one in Vincent's room by putting a strange bun in, And lastly, the one you get by putting a super cucumber in this fenced area behind the blacksmith. After that, I checked the Monster Slayer list at the Adventure Guild, and by the end of the day handed out some gifts to the townies. Day 190 was another day spent in the Skull Caves, where I found the last prismatic shard for Mr. Cheese quest. The next morning, I got the marriage star drop from Sebastian. I was a bit confused about that, because I thought you would only get this once you have 14 hearts, and I only had 12, so thanks I guess. After that, I headed over to Ginger Island to drop off the 4 prismatic shards, and then had a look at the G gem shop. I was very unsure on what to get, but I ended up with the key of the town and the heavy tapper recipe. I accepted another quest while I was there, which was the danger in the deep, where I have to make it down to the last floor in the mines. Since I was already here, I tried to catch an octopus, but it just wasn't happening. I gave up once my seafoam pudding ran out. Slightly upset about that, I did some deforestation around the island, where I found another secret note, which I believe is for the ostrich egg. But I didn't have my hoe with me for the moment, so that'll have to wait. I traded some bones for the banana pudding recipe at the island trader, and by the end of the day remembered that I still have a mastery to unlock. So I headed over to the cave, where I chose the fishing mastery. And with that, had everything unlocked in the cave. As much as I love fishing, I think the fishing mastery is the weakest one out of the 5. Not saying that it's bad, I just think the other ones are better. But anyways, I had the advanced iridium rod now, which has 2 tackle slots, which will hopefully help me catch that damn octopus. As I was making my way into town on day 192, I got the cutscene with Robin, Pam and Penny, where we all admired the newly built house. Then I was off to the island again, where to my surprise, I did actually manage to catch that octopus, which has to be the most irritating fish to catch in the entire game. Then went over to the volcano, where I dug up a walnut and the ostrich egg. I teleported back home, where I crafted myself the ostrich incubator, which I placed inside one of my barns. I still had a lot of time left that day, so I decided to start a Mr. Cheese quest. I was genuinely excited about this, because I only went to the dangerous mines like once, and that was years ago. While slaying some monsters, I got a cursed mannequin, which is a bit concerning, but okay, and a bit later I made it down to floor 25. Day 193 to 95 were all spent in the dangerous mines, where on day 195 I made it down to the bottom and also got an achievement for that. Very cool. Later I made my way into town because it is the Spirit's Eve today. I bought the jack-o'-lantern recipe from Piers, found my husband in the maze where he mentioned that gravestones like these would look nice on the farm as well. Not really, no. After struggling through the new layout, I made it to the treasure chest, where I was delighted to see a prize ticket instead of the usual golden pumpkin. A much better reward in my opinion. As I was walking out of my house the next morning, I saw a ginormous pumpkin, my first giant crop, and I didn't even try for that one. I made my way over to the island farm, where I harvested my ancient fruit, then stopped by the walnut room, where I got the horse flute and hyper speed grow recipe. It's been quite some time since I had the horse flute, and man, it's so nice to have roach on the island. I explored a bit in the volcano dungeon. I was mainly here for dragon tooth, and luckily I did find some. Back at the farm, I collected some aged wine, made a bunch of more casks, and refilled them with yet again more wine. I finally came to realize how long aging wine takes, so screw the layout. I'm gonna plaster everything with casks once the other aged wine is done. It is winter yet again on day 187. I planted some powder melon, winter, and fiber seeds. Removed the hardwood trees next to the greenhouse, then visited Robin, where I moved the greenhouse by 1 tile because I guess it was bothering me, and also commissioned a 3rd shed. I was checking on my animals the next morning, where I saw that my ostrich egg finally hatched. I ended up naming him Sir Laura. I guess we're going with game references now. After that, I did some fishing in town, haven't done that in quite a while, where I fished up a link cut and got the Master Angler achievement, because this was the last fish that I was missing. Lastly, I decided to expand my ancient fruit crop field over at the island farm, which took up the rest of my day. I woke up with different clothes on day 199, which is not concerning at all. Of course it was the mannequin who had my original stuff, even my shoes, which unfortunately I don't quite realize yet. I got the last star drop from Willy in my mailbox, which also got me the Mystery of the Star Drop Steam achievement. Another amazing milestone done. I didn't have much time to celebrate because I still had so much work to do. I commissioned a shed upgrade from Robin, gave Linus a cactus for his birthday, and then spent pretty much the whole rest of my day chopping trees and clearing out the quarry. The next day was not that eventful. I collected 2 sheds of wine and also more aged wine, crafted more casks, made a trip over to the desert where I bought over 300 starfruit seeds, collected my starfruit harvest at the island, replanted the seeds. This time I bought enough though. The shed upgrade was done today, so I put in a few kegs that I've already made in advance, painted the shed the same colors as the other buildings, or at least tried to, then went over to the wizard's tower where I built the desert obelisk. I wanted to make the obelisk area a bit nicer, so I swapped out the wooden path with stone ones, which I think looks much nicer. Day 202, I didn't really do anything if I'm being honest. I gave Leo a gift to raise friendship points with him, and decorated the shed a little bit. The next morning I visited the traveling merchant, which I haven't done in quite some time. I wanted to see if she had more catalogs for sale. She didn't, but there was Sebastian's portrait though, so I bought it and of course hung it up inside the house. I tried out the desert obelisk for the first time and traded my jade for staircases and also 200 batwing for the butterfly hutch, which is probably one of my favorite items in the game. I visited Ginger Island after that, but honestly I couldn't tell you what I was doing here. I was kinda just riding around with Roach, but then I went inside the little mushroom cave where I got acquainted with Fizz, a Georgia Mart employer. Apparently you can purchase perfection waivers, which count for 1% towards perfection. This is interesting, I haven't seen this before. I don't think that I'm gonna use this though, but I'll keep it in mind. Also, this is where I finally realized that I didn't have any shoes on. Sneaky little bastard. The next day was the Festival of Ice. I wanted to see if there's different rewards for this festival as well, and sure is. I got a prize ticket for getting first place. Sweet. On day 205, I harvested my fiber seeds, which was super satisfying, and then built the Statue of Blessing. Similar to the dwarf statue, it gives you 1 buff each day if you activate it. It's pretty cool. After that, I was once again in the volcano dungeon, but other than finding more dragon weapons, not much else happened. Day 206 to 208 were mostly spent in the regular mines to work on the remaining Monster Slayer goals. I also made more casks for the cellar, I gave the monkey a banana for 3 golden walnuts, and also enchanted my watering can at the forge. On day 209, I went to Ginger Island, where I had a chat with the golden Georgia parrot. 70,000 just to find the few remaining walnuts is a bargain at this point. So I paid him. I don't care if this is lame or whatever, I've never collected this many golden walnuts before on my own. I know there's still the mermaid puzzle that I could do, but honestly I don't care at this point. I feel like I've earned this. Back in the volcano dungeon, I finished my last Monster Slayer goal, which was for magma sprites. With that, earned myself the Monster Slayer hero status. That was a bit underwhelming if I'm being honest, since you don't really get anything for it, but at least it's done now. After going to bed, I saw the parrots flying over Ginger Island and collecting any remaining walnuts, and of course Morris enjoying his heaps of gold that I paid him. The next morning I saw that my ostrich was fully grown by now and already produced another egg, which I shipped off for the shipping collection. I gave Harvey some coffee for his birthday, and by the end of the day started to make a whole bunch of crafting recipes to get started on that as well. On day 211 I got the cutscene with Linus and Leo over at the island, and from now on Leo is gonna live at the valley as well. I accepted G's Skull Cavern invasion while I was there, and then just waited for the night market to open up. I bought more farm decorations, another painting, and some random seeds that I need for cooking. Day 212 I didn't really do much. I handed out gifts to a lot of villagers, waited yet again for the night market to open, and also realized that this merchant at the boat has the same parrot as I do. Twinsies! The next morning I had a chat with Sebastian where he suggested that we should raise some slimes. Look, I'd love to have a slime hutch, but I simply do not have the space for that. I gave the wizard a birthday present and then went to the Skull Cave to see what new horrors await me there. I was not prepared for this whatsoever in terms of food and healing items. But thank God for staircases, and after a little while I made it to floor 100 and finished the quest. I left shortly after though, since like I said I didn't have any healing items with me. Day 214 I had once again no shoes on. I am sick of your shenanigans, you go into the chest, sir. I spent the remaining day filling my sheds with more starfruit and ancient fruit, and replanted more seeds on the island farm. Day 215 was spent running around and working on my journal quests, which I've been neglecting for quite some time now. I also had another look at the perfection tracker, and we're up to almost 80% now. Very nice. And while I was there, also got the deluxe fertilizer and magic bait recipe. Day 216 was a glorious day because I had everything that I needed for the island obelisk, thus building my final obelisk on the farm. That felt amazing. I immediately tested it out and walked over to the island, where I traded 50 cinder shards for the deluxe retaining soil recipe at the island trader, then spent the remaining day working on more crafting recipes and cooking. The next morning I saw that Sebastian changed the flooring in one of the rooms. What do I think? It's interesting, I guess. I decided to remove the crypt that day because for the longest time I was under the impression that you need to have 2 kids in order to reach perfection, but you don't. That's only tied to a Steam achievement, which I already have. While I was at the carpenter, I also added a southern corner room and a cubby. I spent the rest of the day decorating and did the same thing on day 218. By day 219 I was done and pretty happy with how it turned out. The southern room is an aquarium where I house all of the legendary fish. The for my kids room is kinda random, but I like it. I gave Leah a birthday present, accepted again Cheese Skull Cavern Invasion because no way in hell I'm playing Junimo card. I tested my luck in the mines right away, but this time I came prepared, and actually made it all the way down to floor 100 without staircases even. I found a 4th frog egg while in the mines yesterday. The frog army just keeps on growing. I stopped by the bookseller that day, where I bought another prize catalog, which I gifted to Pierre. I've been struggling to raise friendship points with him. I got the bluegrass starter recipe from the walnut room, and also 1 mushroom sapling. Day 221 was the Feast of the Winter Star Festival. I gave Emily an aquamarine, and Evelyn gifted me with some of her homemade cookies. Honestly, can't even be mad about that. That is just cute. 222 came around, and I really didn't do that much, to be honest. I gave Clint a birthday present, went all the way to the island to give Leo a gift as well, and more wine collecting. Next morning I went again to the island to try and find more dragon tooth in the dungeon. I still need a few crafting recipes, and to my surprise I did actually manage to find 2. Day 224 was the final day of winter and also of the video. I picked up my crops and replanted more seeds in hopes of not having to water and till the soil next season, but as always, I didn't have enough seeds for everything. Some things just never change. I planted a whole bunch of grass starters for my animals, admired my giant pumpkin with Roach and Rusty, and yeah, that's about it. Same as last year, I didn't really feel like doing anything else. After walking out of my farmhouse, I saw the candles lit up on Grandpa's shrine, which means that I can collect the Statue of Perfection, which I put inside my house for now. I removed the dead crops from the fields, let my animals outside, and then went into town to check the special order board. Unfortunately, Caroline didn't post her quest. This is not good at all. As far as I know, this quest can only show up at the beginning of each month. After that, I rode to the Cindersap forest where I got acquainted with the trash bear, who asked for a bream. By the end of the day, I had planted some strawberry, carrot, potato, and parsnip seeds. The following day, I used one of my rain totems. For the first time ever, I think. Why did I use a rain totem? Well, to make it rain, of course. Silly. I forgot to mention earlier, I also need to have maximum friendship with every single villager. That means 8 hearts with all of the romance candidates and 10 hearts with everyone else, including the dwarf, for whatever reason. It's not looking that bad. I already have a few maxed out, but then of course there's some others like Kent or Pierre, who I've been ignoring ever since I came here. So I handed out some gifts before heading over to the island, where I harvested my ancient fruit and then accepted Cheese Cuisine, where I need to ship 100,000 gold worth of cooked dishes. Thanks to the gift giving yesterday, I got the mango sticky rice from Leo and the strange bun recipe from Shane. Then went to Pierre's, where I bought a whole stack of wheat for Cheese Quest, and some iron and copper ore from Clint. Back at home I turned the wheat flour into bread, but realized I had too little to finish the quest, so I had to go back to the shop, buy another stack of flour, which is way too expensive by the way, then made more bread and shipped everything off. I did some fishing in the sewers where I caught 4 carps, which I need for cooking, and later at the beach I caught an eel, which again I need for cooking. That's why I used the rain totem, by the way. Later in the evening I crafted 14 kegs, and now the 3rd shed is completed. Still not sure if I should maybe build a 4th one. Last thing I did today was cook the carp surprise, spicy eel and mango sticky rice. Now we're only missing 2 more recipes to finish the collection. Day 228 I found a leek. That's very important because I need that for a crafting recipe. I gave Kent some roasted hazelnuts for his birthday while he's still in bed. Jody doesn't mind, I'm sure. Then spent the whole day in the volcano dungeon to look for some dragon tooth. Pretty sure it was a bad luck day because I was not having a good time in there.
Why are we still here? Just to suffer?
And the next day I did the exact same thing. More volcano fun. Though this time I did manage to find 2 more teeth, which is exactly just what I need. I went back to the farm where I crafted the mini forge and 1 island warp totem. The mini forge is actually amazing. It functions just like the forge on top of the volcano. Very handy to have. As I was checking up on the ponds next morning, I saw that the stingray pond produced 1 dragon tooth. Are you kidding me? 1 single day after I crafted the last recipe that required those? Really? I took that very personally and headed over to the carpenter where I deleted the pond. Too little, too late. I don't think I ever destroyed a farm building before, but I needed the space anyways. For a 4th shed. Yep, I need more wine. Well, not really, but it certainly doesn't hurt to have. I placed more stone paths and fences in the shed area and then handed out some gifts to the townies. Day 231, nothing interesting happened, so we're skipping straight to 32, where I got the last cooking recipe in my mailbox, which is the super meal from Kent. I gathered all of the ingredients, made the dish, and with that, got the gourmet chef achievement. Finally, we're done with that. I hate cooking so much. After that, I wanted to hand the trash bear the fish that he was asking for, but he wasn't there. I guess he only shows up when it's nice weather. I just love wasting my time. Later, as I was handing out gifts again, I saw Sebastian near the mountain lake where he found an injured frog. I think this is his 14 card cutscene, which I've never seen before. He catched the injured frog and we agreed to try and nurse him back to health. Oh yeah, the reason why I was at the mountain lake was so that I can commission a shed upgrade from Robin, which I did. The next morning I saw the second half of the cutscene where Sebastian made a terrarium in his room. This is so cool! Sebastian was under the impression that the tiny frog cannot make it on his own anymore. I don't know how you even come to that conclusion. He's been here for 1 single night, but okay. I'm not a vet, so what do I know? Now we officially have 5 frogs in the house. It has to be so incredibly loud in here. I saw the trash bear again, where I gave him the bream, then a dandelion, and not sure what this is supposed to be. I know it's a cooking recipe, but I need to check that back at home. I visited the island, where I had another ancient fruit harvest to take care of. Accepted Cheese Kindness quest, where I need to hand out 50 love gifts in 1 week. This is perfect, since I'm doing that anyways. I wanted to set up some bee houses around the island with fairy roses to make that sweet fairy rose honey, but I didn't have any seeds at the moment, so that'll have to wait. And the rest of the day was me running around and handing out love gifts, which continued on day 234. I also figured out the item that the trash bear wanted. It was cheese cauliflower, by the way. I collected more starfruit wine on day 235, gave the trash bear the final item, which was bread, and in return he cleaned up the dirty cliffside next to the sewers, and even gifted Alex's dog a new doghouse and steak. What a friendly guy. The remaining day was spent at a quarry gathering stone and ore. Day 236 was spent entirely chopping trees in the Sunset Forest, because I never seem to have enough wood, and I am tired of having to pay heaps of money to Robin, who at this point should probably have more money than me now, with all of the buildings I've been commissioning from her over the past few years. The next day was the Egg Festival. Same as last year, I was just here for those sweet strawberry seeds. And I guess 1 more lawn flamingo. You can never have too many of those. Morning of 238 was me running around and handing out yet again more gifts. With that, finished Cheese Quest. I teleported to the island where I got the hopper recipe from the gem shop. It really pains me to spend that many points on recipes that I'll never use, but unfortunately it is required for perfection. This should also be the last one from the shop. Moving on to some more exciting days, it is time for the yearly desert festival. I prepared for a Skull Cavern run and then took the bus over to the desert. As always, I got a free meal from the chef, accepted the deep dive quest from Marlon, and then descended down into the mines. I spent pretty much the whole day down there, and after reaching floor 92, I decided to call it a day. I collected my reward from Jill, who was very impressed with my egg rating and gave me 200 eggs for that. And I even got his hat. Kinda cute, but nothing tops the pirate hat. Day 240 was spent again in the Skull Caves. I found I think my third white turban in a treasure chest. After I was happy with the amount of eggs I found, I emerged and had a look at all of the different vendors. I was beyond happy to see Shane and Caroline here today, because Shane has one of my favorite new items in stock, which is of course the chicken decal. I bought the exotic palace from Caroline, which is also a wall piece, as well as all of her green tea supply. Then checked the traveling merchant, and as if the chicken decal wasn't enough, she had the Junimo catalog for sale. Super expensive, but well worth the money. Back at home, I placed the chicken decal above our bed, and I think it fits really nicely in here. What do you guys think? It was the last day of the desert festival, and I headed into the mines yet again. But other than finding a crystallarium, nothing too interesting happened. I finished another quest from Marlon and then looked at all of the vendor shops again. Unfortunately, Caroline was here again. Why? Same as last year, I traded in some eggs for a magic rock candy and didn't really know what else to get, so I bought all three of the new headpieces from the egg merchant, which are the mummy mask, blue and dark velvet bow, and some random furniture pieces. I spent the rest of my time collecting wine and refilling kegs. Morning on day 242, I went straight to Willie's, where I bought some wall decorations and the Fisher double bed. It is finally time to decorate the island farmhouse, which, yes, I've definitely forgot about. While I was at the island, I had a look at the perfection tracker again, and we're at 86% now. Nice. And also accepted another quest. The first in-game hours was just me figuring out what wallpapers and flooring I wanted to have in here. And the next day I was of course still decorating. I also want to give a quick shout out to 920. I saw their farm design on Reddit, which the bedroom is heavily inspired by. I usually don't like looking stuff like this up, but I wanted to take my time with this and really make it look nice. Which is kind of funny because I rarely use the farmhouse. I also decided to move the kegs that were outside and place them inside the building. You never guess what I did on day 244. If you guess decorating, that's what I did. Midday, I made a quick trip over to Sandy's, where I bought a few more furniture pieces, and also starfood seeds. After a little while, I was done, and super happy with the layout. I think I might like this even more than the other house. There's still a couple of things I'd like to add, but I've spent enough time decorating now. I harvested my starfruit, replanted more seeds, and gave Shane a birthday present by the end of the day. It was the last day from Mr. Cheese Skull Cavern quest, so I headed over to the desert and also traded my jade again for staircases. I had exactly 100, so no matter if it was a good or bad luck day, I was prepared. I ate a rock candy before entering and then slowly made my way down. I found I think my 5th auto grabber, still no auto petter unfortunately. But more importantly, I got my hands on my very first Galaxy Soul. I had no idea that you can also just get these from slimes. I thought it was only available in the walnut room, so that's good to know. I reached floor 100 pretty fast, and my reward was a red slime egg. The game really wants me to build a slime hutch. As I was collecting my ancient fruit in the greenhouse, I saw that my tea bushes were finally done growing. That took so long. I traded my G-Gems for Pierre's missing stock list, accepted yet again Danger in the Deep, went back to the valley to hand Pierre the list, and bought 4 fairy rose seeds from him. I spent the remaining day setting up the honey farm on Ginger Island. It's not gonna be a lot of additional income, but every bit counts. The next morning I got the full shipment achievement, because the tea leaves was the last item that was missing. Another collection completed. then spent the whole day in the mines to get started on Mr. Cheese quest. On day 248, I saw a second frog in Sebastian's terrarium. Is my husband just picking up random frogs from the street? Anyways, I made my way over to the Cindersap forest because it's time for the yearly flower dance. No idea why I even came here, I guess I just really wanted to dance with Sebastian, who was equally as enthusiastic about the festival as I was. After we danced, I collected 3 sheds of starfruit and ancient fruit wine and made it to bed just in time. The following 2 days were both spent in the mines, and on day 250 I made it to the bottom and finished the quest. I also got an enricher from a special slime earlier, and my 6th frog egg. Back at home I tried to get some of the other color variants, so I wasted some of my precious iridium bars and ended up with a blue one. I think the frogs can have like 10 different color variants, and I really wish the parrot could also have some different ones. Maybe in a future patch. Since there can only be 4 frogs in one terrarium, I traded some broken glasses to the raccoon's wife and got a second jungle tank. I also took one of my green frogs and tried again to see if I could get some different colors, and actually got the prismatic variant, which looks absolutely amazing. Now it really looks like a frog sanctuary in here. Later that day I stopped by the walnut room and traded my gems for another galaxy soul. The next morning I collected over 30 bottles of aged wine, handed out more gifts, bought a whole bunch of starfruit seeds for the upcoming summer, then didn't really know what else to do, but later I remembered that at the last day of the season, the island trader has a galaxy soul in his shop. So I headed over to the island where I traded 10 radioactive bars for a 3rd galaxy soul. With that, I was able to transform my galaxy sword into the infinity blade and even got an achievement for that. Goodbye, Dragon Tooth Club. You have been an exceptional companion throughout the last few months. Thank you for your service. It is summer once again on day 253. I prepared the field, went to Pierre's for some deluxe speed grow, and of course checked the special order board in town. And finally had Caroline's Island ingredient quest on there. And thank God it's for pineapples and not for ginger. I went over to my island farm to pick up the pineapple seeds I've been collecting so far, traded a few magma caps at the island trader for more seeds, and planted everything back at home, along with a bunch of starfruit seeds. Since I have the whole season to ship 100 pieces of pineapple, that should be enough for the quest. I hope at least. Day 254 I added a few more bee houses to the honey farm, then spent a good amount of my time decorating the path that leads up to the mountain lake. For no particular reason, really, I just didn't know what else to do. As I was collecting more wine the next morning, I remembered that I still have this one shed that I didn't end up using after all. I couldn't keep up with the insane amount of wood that you need for kegs, and buying wood at this point is just way too expensive. To keep the series a bit more interesting, I thought, why not have a little side project where I try to get my hands on some more rare hats and display them in the shed. See, over the span of this playthrough, I've been collecting so many cool hats, but I have nowhere to put them. I don't have any kids, and only 1 dog and 1 horse. So what else could I do with them? Well, I could just go to Sandy and buy a whole bunch of mannequins, but that's too boring, and also costs way too much money. Money that I'll need soon, so on what else can you place hats? The alien rare crow. That's right, you can place hats on this one specifically. It doesn't require any actual money, just gambling at the casino, and you can have as many of them as you want. So I went over to Robin's to swap out the wine shed with the empty one, and then headed over to the casino. I kinda underestimated how many points you actually need for 1 alien rare crow, so I only got 2 today, but also the top hat. Back at home, I put the 2 rare crows in the shed, one with the top hat and the other with the mystery hat. Later I planted some taro tubers on the island farm so that I can trade them to the island trader in the future. Day 256, I gave Jazz a birthday present, went again to the casino and spent some time gambling at the slot machine. After a little while, I had enough to buy 15 more rare crows and also this really cool wallpaper. I collected some of the hats I've been hoarding so far from my house and displayed everything in the shed. I am already way too invested into this. I visited the island where I fished inside the frog cave and got my hands on the frog head. Exchanged 5 gems for Mr. Cheese hat at the walnut room, traded some coconuts for golden coconuts, and opened them at Clint's. I was hoping to get my hands on the coconut helmet, but I had no luck with that unfortunately. The next day I went to Robin's, where I added a dining area to the kitchen and expanded the corner room. If you couldn't tell, I'm in a decorative mood right now. And yeah, most of the day was spent adding furniture to the corner room, which continued the following day. I used to stop by the Desert Trader, where I traded 999 pieces of coal for the dark piano. It looked very interesting and I wanted to have it. By day 259 I was done. The corner room features mostly items from the Junimo catalog and I love it. The piano is inside the dining area and yeah, I think it turned out pretty cozy. I visited the traveling merchant where I bought the retro catalog. For no particular reason, I just like to have all of the different catalogs at my disposal in case I decide to redecorate again. I had a starfruit and ancient fruit harvest ready on the island farm and also collected my first batch of fairy rose honey. Never ceases to amaze me how well this sells. Almost 40k just for some honey is not bad at all. It was a good luck day on 260, so I was off to the casino where I spent a good amount of my time gambling at the slot machine. And I don't mean in-game time, because the timer is paused while you're at the machine. I mean real time. In total, I think I already spent like 2.5 hours here. Thank God editing exists. I purchased another 15 rare crows, went back to the farm to tend to my animals, where I get jump scared by a truffle crab, who ran away from me. I read about truffle crabs before, but never seen one, so I was a bit confused at first. I crafted myself 6 new hats at the tailoring machine. The dino hat, totem mask, fashion hat, hairbone, pumpkin and blobfish mask, and of course displayed them in the shed. We're skipping right ahead to day 236. The first pineapple harvest was ready, and also the taro tubers on the island. I collected more honey, traded 50 omni geodes to the Desert Trader for the green turban, and later tailored 5 more hats. The spotted headscarf, beanie and floppy beanie, the fishing and propeller hat. The next morning I saw that more aged wine was ready, then stopped by the raccoon, who I gave smoked fish and 5 snails, which he requested ages ago. And he gave me, once again, more fairy dust. Just what I wanted. I traded 30 taro root for the deluxe cowboy hat and then went to the dwarf in the volcano mine where I purchased the pink bow from him. I gave Alex a birthday present on day 265, which bumped me up to max hearts with him. Since I'm not crafting any more kegs, I decided to remove the oak tree farm in front of the shed, planted 2 mango trees and laid out a path for the golden clock. I don't like the spot one bit, but I have nowhere else to put it. Today I was handing out some gifts again to Leo, Clint, Kent. Now I'm only missing 1 heart with the dwarf to have every single villager at maximum friendship points. I harvested a few more pineapples and ancient fruit on the island, then crafted myself 8 more hats. All 3 party hats, the normal pirate hat, bridal veil, witch hat, radioactive goggles, and the swashbuckler hat. And here's a little update on the alien shed. It's coming along very nicely. Day 267 was the Green Rain event, but I had no interest of running around and collecting fiber this time. Instead, I went to the movie theater where I got my hands on a few more decorations from the Crane game. I managed to get both the Bobo and Wumbo statue, which look absolutely cursed, perfect for a shed, a few more movie posters, plants, and also 2 deluxe and exotic trees. I placed most of the stuff in the alien shed and I'm loving how it looks now. Skipping ahead to day 270, I had another pineapple harvest, which should be enough to finish Caroline's quest. I crafted 5 more hats, normal goggles, the star and warrior helmet, sunglasses and forager's hat, which I of course displayed in the shed. Now I pretty much tailored all of the hats in the game, but I still had a few empty rare crows. By the way, I spent the last 2 days in the casino again, and I think that was also the last time. I've been spending so much time in there, I think I have enough rare crows now. I had a look at the Hat Mouse's shop, but I couldn't decide on what I want to have, so I'll come back to that a bit later. 271 was a glorious day. I finally got the solar panel recipe in my meal, which I crafted right away, and with that got the Craft Master achievement for crafting every single recipe in the game. Thank God that is done now. I collected my honey over on Ginger Island, accepted Cheese Skull Cavern Invasion once again, moved the shed and the greenhouse by one tile down so that it is in line with the house and stable. I wanted to make the farm look a bit nicer, so I removed some of the wooden paths, moved some of the sprinklers, but I have no idea if I actually like this more or not. And the next day I was still decorating outside. I don't know what I'm doing at this point. I'm way better at interior design than whatever this is supposed to be. I was heavily debating on whether or not to remove the giant pumpkin, but I just couldn't bring myself to destroy it. Sunday was the last day for the Skull Cavern quest, so I headed over to the desert, traded my jade, and made my way down to floor 100. On my way, I found a blue and dark cowboy hat, and before midday, I finished the quest. I left immediately after because I had way too much money on me at the moment. Back on the island, I got the Junimo chests and 4 pressure nozzles from the gem shop. I gave the dwarf his final aquamarine, and with that, finally had max hearts with everyone in town. The only thing that is missing now is the golden clock. I spent the remaining day figuring out how the pressure nozzles work again, which I wanted to use on the sprinklers in the greenhouse. I did figure it out eventually, and may or may not have destroyed a few ancient fruit plants in the process. Again, a nightmare to figure this out without the UI info suite. Day 274, another starfruit harvest on the island. I traded my taro root for a small cap at the island trader, then decorated the greenhouse more. Yes, I know I am missing a tree on the left side. I was kinda hoping that I would maybe get another banana sapling, but I never did. I'll move the one from the island in here eventually. And we're skipping right ahead to day 290. To quickly summarize the past 2 weeks, I finally got an autopetter in a golden mystery box, traded more taro root for the blue bird mask, I bought 3 hats from the Hat Mouse shop, the infinity crown, space helmet and jester hat, which I placed in the alien shed, and now my collection is almost done. Almost. More wine and honey collecting. I went again to the movie theater where I got both of the serpent statues for the shed. I decorated the island farm a bit with fences, wooden paths and jungle torches. And yeah, that's about it. Finally, the day was here. After all my hard work over the past few months, I had enough money accumulated for the golden clock. Full of excitement, I rushed over to the wizard's tower and built it on my farmland. And there it is, 100% completed on the perfection tracker. I headed straight to the train station, but was a bit confused since the boulder was still there, but I guess I'll have to wait until tomorrow. The next morning I got some very interesting notifications in the morning. The legacy of Riverside Farm is eternal. Okay, sounds a bit ominous. I headed yet again to the train station, but this time the rock was gone. At the top of the summit, Sebastian was waiting for me, and I also got the perfection achievement. Sweet. But I'm not quite done yet. There's 2 more things that I want to do. First, I got my hands on the Statue of True Perfection by interacting with the perfection tracker, and then went for a final trip to the volcano, where I got the Concerned Ape mask by talking to this monkey on top of the forge. Truly terrifying, and who better to display it than the cursed mannequin. I rushed back home and didn't even notice that I have a second giant pumpkin on my farm. I put the mannequin inside the shed, and now my collection is completed. And that concludes my journey towards perfection in Stardew Valley. I know that for some people it might not seem like a big deal, but I was so excited about this, and still am. Again, this was the very first time ever I managed to get to perfection. This episode is probably a lot shorter than the other ones, but I hope it was still entertaining to watch. And if there's actually people out there who watched all 3 parts of this series, then thank you. I truly appreciate you watching my videos. I'm not entirely sure what I'm gonna do next. I want to do a modded playthrough at some point, but I need to mentally prepare for this one. If you have any ideas on what you'd like to see in the future, then please let me know in the comments down below. I love reading them. And again, thank you so much for watching. See you in the next video.